Hi, Chris, Donald. Donald, are you smoking? Dude, good for you. You're just keeping it up, aren't you? You're like, I don't care what they say. That was the hardest thing, man. I'll tell you what, heaven for me is a pack of Newports and a pot of black coffee at 2 a.m. on the patio of an IHOP.
Newport 100s and a Bud Light.
Dude.
Me
Yeah.
Tell
too.
me you're ghetto
That's
without telling me you're ghetto.
Just so y'all know what kind of webinar you're on. Like this is not highbrow Ivy League. Just so you know. We're yeah. We're the misfits by far, by a million miles. Um, y'all, I want to say just a couple of things real quick about you, actually. It is December 16th. We're 9 days from Christmas. This is the least productive month in the Western world. And most people I know are checked all the way out. Most people I know are done. They're phoning it in and they're just trying to do their best to get to the holiday season so they can get drunk and eat too much and medicate themselves asleep, which is I think how the vast majority of humanity functions right now, sadly. And y'all are sitting on a freaking webinar listening to an entrepreneur talking about predictions. And I have to say, and hopefully you don't think this is an exaggeration, that puts you in the absolute minority of humanity. Like you're the few who are willing to do the work, show up, ask questions, and I hope and I believe very strongly that you're going to benefit from it. I don't know if y'all follow Imad Mustaq. I like him a lot. I think he's one of the smartest thought leaders in the world. And Imad said, "We have 1,000 days. Right now is the most potent opportunity in the entrepreneurial environment in the history of humanity." And he's like, we have 1,000 days to seize it. Not to say that the world's not ending in 1,000 days, but everything gets commoditized. And then you're back to fighting for scraps like we all have been. But because of the amount of leverage that AI creates, we've got 1,000 days to really seize that leverage. And he said that about 150 days ago. So you're in the exact right place on the exact right call, listening to the exact right human being. If you know who Perry Belcher is, you're going to put up with me for a little bit while I give you his resume. If you don't know who he is, Perry is, uh, I've never in my entire life met a person who can skate to where the puck is going like Perry. Perry has been relevant for the whole of the internet economy and then some because he's old. Perry created the largest and most respected marketing conference on the planet and sold that for a nice, tidy sum of money. Perry effectively invented digital marketing. That's a fact, by the way. Perry invented the tripwire. Perry has conquered industries as disparate as chemicals and sourdough starters. Perry, and these are, I made some notes for myself just because I've been in business with Perry now for almost 4 years. And all I do is I just sit back and I listen and I learn. Perry called the rise of NVIDIA before anybody was talking about NVIDIA. And I can prove this because I can show you when I bought the stock and what the stock is worth right now. Perry called the death of prompt engineering at its peak when everybody was selling all those prompt engineering courses. Perry, on stage at Driven, this is recorded, called the death of prompt engineering and then explained to everybody why prompt engineering was a flawed model and what we could expect. He called that about 2.5 years before it happened. Perry called the rise of the newsletter. When people were like, email's dead, newsletters are dead, we're moving off of this old antiquated system. Perry's like, not only is email not dead, but it's actually about to make a massive, massive comeback. Within 24 months, we saw three of the largest acquisitions in the newsletter space to the tune of 30x EBIT. Perry called that, and that's recorded. Perry built the AI Bot Summit. It was the first and I believe the largest AI-driven event in the world, and he built it before anybody, which actually pissed me off, to be honest with you, because me, him, and Fladlin were all on a call talking about what's going to happen in the AI world. And Perry's like, fellas, if I were you, I wouldn't worry about it. Next thing I know, Frick's launched an event, hasn't told me about it. Perry called the U.S. and Iran conflict. This is on Facebook. You can go check Perry Belcher's. Go to Perry Belcher's Facebook page right now. He goes, U.S. is going to attack Iran. Comments blow up. Dude, you're crazy. There's no way. This isn't going to happen because this, because that, because this, because that. What was it? A day later? Was it 24 hours? 24 hours later, the U.S. bombs Iran.
It was
Uh,
about 15 hours. It took all of 15 hours.
it wasn't even a day. Perry was talking about AI and robotics in 2017 in Mexico. Perry called the agentic AI. He was talking about agentic AI in 2021. If you were in War Room, I was in War Room for years. This is what Perry does. And the thing about Perry, if you know him, I'll tell you how and why he does this, because he doesn't do anything else. You take a man who's truly brilliant, but there's a lot of really smart people out there. All Perry Belcher does all day is learn. He sits in his bathtub, getting Belle to bring him food. He actually eats in his bathtub. It is as disgusting as it sounds. And he watches YouTube videos and he reads and he listens to podcasts. And then sometimes you'll get a phone call from him. And this happens, he'll call me and be like, hey, dude, sourdough starter. And I'm like, what? And he goes, sourdough starter. And I'm like, what the hell is a sourdough starter? He's like, and then within 45 minutes, I have a master's degree on the fact that bread is the highest margin product in the world. It's why all the private equity companies own the three biggest bread companies in the world, and how Perry's going to go conquer the sourdough starters. But he does it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. He does it so much that we've created a ritual out of it, which is the Perry Belcher Predictions Call. It's why you're here. My ask of you is to pay attention. Here's what I want from y'all. This is what I need. And to be honest with you, this is what we owe Perry. Remember, remember what he says. And as you see this shit happening, I want everybody taking a social, posting, Perry called it. Because he deserves that. As many times as he's called it, if you've made money off of him, if you've watched what he said and you've done it, and it's actually benefited you, Perry deserves to be way more famous than he is. He really is a true pleasure to listen to work with. And I think everybody's going to benefit a lot from this very free call. And so pay attention and, suspend disbelief. Because some of the shit he says, I remember when he said the death of prompt engineering, dude, I was like, dude, you are nuts. Like, you are not, there's no way. And I was wrong. And I can't tell you how many times I've been wrong. So pay attention, suspend disbelief. And when you see it actually happen, I want everybody taking a social saying Perry called it. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce the man of the hour, the myth and the legend, the godfather of digital marketing, Perry Belcher.
Means I'm old, right? Can't be, there's no such thing as a young godfather, They're as soon as they made thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And the crowd goes wild. As soon as they named Al Pacino the Godfather, and the Godfather, when he passed on to him, the next episode he looked so freaking old, right?
He'd
Have you ever
aged
noticed
20
that?
years.
He aged
Yeah.
20 years, heavy as the hat, right? All right, cool. So today's going to be a good day. So let me tell you what I do, why I do these things. We own a portfolio of companies, around 19 companies in our group right now, in my side in my side and more on Kasim's side owns a number of companies that we pass information back and forth with, and I do these calls largely. I did them for years, but I did them for our teams. I did them for our people. I did them for the companies that I owned stock into, the companies that I invested into, so that they could be ahead for 2026. And always did them in December 2025 for that year. They'd be ahead for the next year. So I wanted to try to dig into learn, research, and deliver predictions. As AI's got better, I can dig far, far deeper in my research. So what you're about to see is the culmination of about 19 hours of my time with the equivalent of probably 1,000 hours of human time on the back of that, so that these predictions, I think, will be a lot more accurate than they were when they're my, largely they haven't been my predictions. They've been largely my opinions based on certain data. But now I can pull in so many more data points to get. What did I'm telling you one time? Okay, so Bart Simpson, would you bring me a squishy? Okay, so we're gonna go for it. I offended the Indians. They're first. Okay, the Indians got it first today. Your turn's coming. Don't worry. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do today. A lot of time went into this, is what I'm saying. So I'm gonna get started. I got a lot to cover. So we're gonna do two sets of predictions if we don't run out of time. Hopefully, we don't run out of time. I don't know how short our clock is, but I'm going to give you the 50 general predictions that I believe are the most likely to happen and the most likely to impact your life in 2026, along with something different I'm doing this year. Each prediction comes with a butterfly effect. So I'm going to tell you at least one thing that you should consider, that through cause and effect, that change, that primary prediction change, may have a secondary effect. It'll have multiple secondary effects, the ripple effect, right? But I'm going to show you the first butterfly that I see coming out of it in each one of these predictions. And there are far more, right? And then as soon as that's over, if you guys want to stick around with me, I've got financial predictions of what stocks, what publicly traded companies I would invest in this year that I believe will go forward, what publicly traded companies I would not invest in, as I feel they're going to fail. I think some great big giant corporations are going to zero this year. And I'll tell you what they are. And then I'll talk about gold and cryptocurrency and stuff like that a little bit, the second set of predictions. Is that all good? We ready to go? All right, lock and load. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to kick this pig. Okie dokie, artichoke. So now I want to present. And I don't see the button to present. Of course I don't. This worked all week. Okay, hold on one second, guys. We'll be ready to go. Does anybody know how you present in here?
I think if you click that drop down next to publish.
I would have thought that. Publish, publish, publish.
I predict you need an EA.
I predict you're right.
It's under share.
Is it under
Can you
share?
go- yeah, click share, Perry.
Okay, got it. There we go. And okay. I see nothing. All right. Well, you know what we'll do? We'll just thumb through it, I guess, since I'm too stupid to figure out how to do this. So you're taking.
I think if you hit the drop down, Perry, next to publish it, you can preview the page, and then that if you want to be like an interactive page.
All right. It should just it's a presentation. Why would it not present?
Thank
Okay.
you, Chris Luck. There it is.
Anyway, thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Okay, so here we roll, butter roll. Okay, so these are 50 predictions will wreck your little world in 2026. So I got to throw a little Perryism in there. So we'll start with business and technology and some of the obvious stuff. Some of these are going to seem incredibly obvious, but they're not. They shouldn't be. And some that seem obvious, you're going to probably push back on some of my predictions, especially amongst companies that I think are going to really take a big dip next year, one of which I'm sure I'll get a lot of disagreement on. But AI isn't assistant anymore. It just got promoted to be your job, be your boss in a lot of cases. So AI is going to be doing a lot more this year. It's not going to be the same as last year. So what corporate's calling this right now, they're calling 2025 the AI demo year. What's that mean? It means that most companies that invested money in AI, $350 billion year to date, $350 billion this year to date in AI technology. Anybody want to guess what percentage of that technology is actually in force today? Of the 350 billion they paid for, what percent do you think's in force today actually doing work? Exactly 5%. 5%. The corporations are predicting that they'll be at 80% utilization by the end of 2026. So that means the technology that they've already bought, they've been demoing it. They've been experimenting with it. They've been doing all kinds of weird little things with it to learn how it works and to figure out how to integrate it into their businesses. This coming year, 2026, this is the year that it all goes to work. And it's going to start really, really heavy in 26. First quarter, a lot of companies are rolling out in first quarter things that are going to just decimate their workforces. This is where a lot of middle management, we'll talk about that in a minute, and different roles are going to go away. And I'm going to talk about the roles that are going to go away, but I'm also going to talk about the roles that are going to replace them and where you want to position yourself for that. So this is a giant move, and humans are going to be much more supervisors for quality control and strategy and things like that. There'll be far fewer suits, in other words. all the people that are middle management or doers in the organization that are lever pullers, they are functionally gone. They'll begin vanishing from the workforce at a rate. If you figure last year there was 5% utilization, and we had the biggest layoff year. I think it's going to be the biggest layoff year in history. Right, the biggest layoff year in history. If not, it's going to be very, very close to the biggest layoff year in history since they've been keeping those numbers. But that was with 5% utilization. So if we go to 80% utilization next year, you can imagine what the numbers are going to look like. And it's creating all sorts of effects already. One of my friends is the biggest player in the franchise business right now, one of the biggest players in the sale of franchises right now. Franchise sales are at an all-time high right now because people coming out of white-collar jobs, they have 401k money, are investing it in franchises. They want to do something. They need to do something. This is the biggest year in franchise history, which leads to the second thing. Middle managers, you can pack your bags. There's absolutely no use for middle managers for the most part in all of corporate America. And you got to consider in the white-collar space, this makes up about 55% of corporate America is middle management. It's just not necessary anymore. There's no need for it. And you've only seen a little bit of it go away so far this year, but it's been painful. Next year, you can expect to see maybe half of all middle managers in corporations go away. So, I mean, these are millions and millions and millions of jobs. The good news is they're going to come out. Guess what they're all going to do? They're going to start fractional consulting companies. If they were a CTO, they're going to be a fractional CTO. If they were a fractional art director, if they were an art director, they may be a fractional art director. Whatever the case may be, you're going to see the fractional market go crazy, but it's going to be a race to the bottom. It's going to get really, really cheap. It's going to be a lot of money, though, for you guys that are trainers out there, salespeople, and teach people how to build these kinds of businesses. There's going to be a ton of money in teaching people how to be a fractional whatever they used to be, because they're going to be good at what they do, but they're not going to know how to sell what they do. They're not going to know how to position themselves. They're not going to know how to charge. And most of them, because they're coming out of corporate America, they don't know how to run a business. That's the reason that they think this year will be 2025 was like a doubling in franchise sales. They think 2026 they may 4x the all-time record of franchise sales, because a lot of the smarter executives coming out already know they don't know how to run a business, but they know they got to eat, and they got 401k money and they got good credit. So they're going to go out and they're going to buy themselves a fantastic Sam's, and that's how they're going to live, right? So the franchise territories right now, try to buy franchise. It's not easy. The franchise territories are full as they can be. They're full as ticks. You can't buy any of the named franchises hardly right now at all, anywhere. All the territories are full. They're selling out like mad. And new franchises are popping up, and new franchises are selling where new franchises used to not sell well. And that has a lot to do with the fact that these folks, being credit worthy, can go to the SBA and buy a franchise with 10% out-of-pocket money. Robots are going to code at least half of all the code that you see. The big code in the big companies, it's half, but you've got smart engineers there and these big behemoth companies that you'll see in further predictions. A handful of those companies, I think, will almost cease to exist this year for this very reason. But half the code's going to be written there, and half the code's going to be written by vibe coders, like people like us that go out and create very specialized apps. And it's called a decoupling of the SaaS industry, and I'll get that in a minute. But you're going to see companies getting away from giant, this does everything for your business, multi-tool systems, into hundreds of little bitty systems, particularly designed for their company. But they're not going to be willing, and we'll talk about this in a minute, to buy those things on a monthly basis. So the whole software landscape is changing forever. And it's a very, very different place to be. It's creating a havoc in the valuations market. You've got Silicon Valley holding trillions of dollars in bullshit equity, because these companies that they're holding equity in are going down in value at an alarming rate as MRR is sinking and cancellations of subscriptions are at an all-time high. Computer science is already seeing a huge dip in computer science registrations, but we'll be down more than 25% of the same amount of students applying for computer science degrees in 2026 as there were in 2025, and it was already low in 2025. So that's crazy. Per seat licensing dies a screaming death. So this is what I was talking about. SaaS companies that are so much a seat license, and these bills just get outrageous over time. All corporate is saying right now, we don't want a seat license anymore. We want to buy and own the software. And this is going back. We're going all the way backwards because the MRR model has just been so abusive, and the SaaS model, SaaS, software as a service business, has just went to shit in the cracker. It was a good idea. What the general idea was, we're going to give you the software and we're going to give you the support to run the software, and that's SaaS as a service, except they just left out the support part. The companies just left out the support part. And now you've got the average company in America with over 180 SaaS applications running, and they are slashing like crazy. We're doing it. Every company I know is slashing subscriptions, and they're buying I can go in and say, for instance, I can go to a company and look at it and go, we buy this SaaS, it does 100 things. We use these two things. We use these two things in this SaaS, it does 100 things. Can we vibe code that and own it ourselves? Or can we buy a small app that just does the thing that we need and just own it, right? Those are the effects. You're going to see them coming big time. And the problem is the collapse in market valuation is the crazy part, because these companies are valued based on a 10x or a 20x or a 30x of MRR. With MRR evaporating, the value of these companies is plummeting. So there's going to be a number of companies that basically cease to exist, that get defunded, and you're going to see this maniac dumping by M&A companies to try to get rid of these assets that they now feel are toxic, if that makes any sense to anybody. AI operator, that's going to be the job title. I really predict that's the job title everybody's going to want. It's not going to be digital marketer. It's not going to be marketing, whatever. It's going to be an AI operator. That's going to be the job that everybody, instead of saying, oh, I'm a coder or I'm a marketer or whatever, they're going to all want to be AI operators, because it's going to be the most coveted job around. If you go to a job as an employee and you are a skilled AI operator, right, the employer already knows they're going to get multiples of work out of you that they're not going to get out of someone else. So you're looking at anywhere from a 30% to a 50% premium for skilled AI operators in any role, any job. I don't care what it is that you're doing, because AI is permeating every industry. It is a general purpose technology. So it's permeating every industry. Here we go. Let's see. And interviews are going to be really interesting too. People they're already talking about, there's a couple of companies in Silicon Valley, they give you, hey, use whatever tools you got on your computer and solve this problem. You have 15 minutes. Come back with your solution. They're wanting to see how people use AI. They're not liking it. They're liking it a lot. The fact that you can take a problem that would take a week for somebody to do before, if you can solve that problem with AI in 15 minutes, guess what? You get hired. The guy that doesn't know how to do that, or the gal that doesn't know how to do that, is shit out of luck. Plumbers now out-earn marketing managers. So, that's true now. This is true now. You can't sling a dead cat and not hit somebody that calls himself a marketing manager or a marketer. It's a reason 2 years ago, I wrote a manifesto talking about how I didn't want to be a marketer anymore, and I don't. It's not my calling. I like to grow companies. I like to invest in companies. I enjoy growth hacking. But marketing is a function of growth. It's not growth. Marketing by itself is not growth. It's a function of growth. It takes everything. But right now you're seeing plumbers, trades, electricians, HVAC people making at jobs up to 200 grand a year working for someone else, right? But working for themselves, a small firm, a small plumbing firm, a small electrical firm can net out $500,000 to $1 million a year. So people are going to learn how to be plumbers. People are going to learn how to be HVAC people. People are going to learn how to be electricians. We have a company right now with a partner in Houston and Fort Worth, Texas, that does concrete work. And that business, we're generating leads in that business right now for $11 a lead. The average lead, and it takes 4 leads to get an appointment. The average takes 2 appointments to get a sale, and the average ticket on a sale is $4,000 with a $2,000 profit, and the job's done in a day. So the ROI here is just insane. If you talk to Ruben Rock, he can show you these guys are spending pennies on the dollar what we are because they're delivering an actual service that's in demand. The problem with marketing and the problem with a lot of the soft stuff that we do, we have to create the demand for it. There's already big demand for this. And for every 10 people retiring from the trades, there are 3 people going into the trades, but that's about to completely change. Trade schools are going to grow at 400%, estimated 400% enrollment in 2026, 400%. While computer science enrollments are going down by 25%. MBA going down by 16%. Okay. This is a big one for somebody who's really technical. Small language models humiliate the big giants. What you're going to see happening very soon, large language models have a problem. The Geminis of the world, the OpenAIs of the world, they have so much data that they're able to hallucinate very freely. It's just like any of us who are more worldly, better read, our minds travel, right? Where if you're somebody who stood in line and put a bolt into a nut your whole life, that's all you know, right? So training hosted models that live right in the facility they're being used in, right? Or on a server that you own with just your proprietary data. And I'm not talking about, put Kasim's brain in a box and ask Kasim a question kind of shit. That ain't it. That ain't it. I'm talking about agentic AI that goes out and does stuff Kasim would do, that goes out and does stuff Perry would do. Training these small local models that people own really, really matter for a number of reasons. Number one, you're looking at, in some cases, a half a penny a query for a large language model. You can host these yourself. Buy the software. You buy a large language model that updates every so often. So it's like, remember old Windows when you used to get in the box, you get Windows, whatever, Windows 9, and then you'd upgrade to Windows 10 and Windows 11, and every year or so a new Windows would come out. It's kind of like that. So you'll choose your model, and the person who's leading this, by the way, Meta. Meta's all over this like a fat rat on a Cheeto, right? You can download Meta's whole AI right now, put it on a local computer and run it yourself. It takes some computing power, but you can put your data in there, train it and guardrail it on only your data. And now the operations that happen in there are happening within your business only on AI that you trained, right? But it starts doing things. It starts sorting out support tickets. It starts ordering materials. It starts doing procurement of your goods. It starts managing your supply chain. It starts doing all those things that, guess who else used to do that? Humans, with far more human error than these little dirt cheap large language models have, or small language models have. So this is going to be big, 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 big. So if you're into the chief data custodian, your data, your private data on how you do what you do is going to be the most valuable thing that your company owns. That's going to be that, and 2 more things, and we'll talk about those in a second, are going to be the real IP that you have. Everybody's going to be buying companies based on their proprietary data. It's so smart because you think about it, it makes your company a lot more sellable. If you have a small language model that's trained, or you have Jimmy who's trained, right? If you sell the business, Jimmy may or may not go with the business, but the trained small language model does. So if you want your company to be valuable and exitable, you start building these small language models right now and get somebody to help you put those together. They're not that difficult. I know a couple people that do it, but voice AI gets so good that you can't tell and nobody cares because you're going to be able to call and get an answer right now instead of sitting on a eternal hold with somebody to finally get somebody who has very little authority and very limited skill and knowledge of the business or whatever it is you're buying. How are we doing so far? Scale of 1 to 10. You guys liking this? Am I on the right track? Are we feeling good? Am I going too fast, too slow? At the end of all this, I'm going to give you guys
10.
I'm going to give you guys all my slides at the end of this so you guys can go back and review all this stuff if you want. Voice AI gets so good. So what's the butterfly effect? The BPO industry gets slaughtered. The Philippines economy gets killed. The Indian tech support economy gets killed. And I'm going to talk about some of those companies to short later. This is absolutely 1,000% inevitable. So if you own, stock in Casinix or some of those big BPO companies, I'd start running for the hills on those things. There will be escalation to live support, but there may be companies that charge for platinum support. I think that's going to happen where you're going to pay an extra fee. I'm already seeing it with some software companies. When you go to their enterprise levels, you get platinum support. I think what that's going to mean in the future is you get to speak to a live human should your problem escalate that far. And if you're not in the platinum support group, you don't. And people will learn to just accept that. Because we always do. You think about it. I'm old, and when I was a kid, we pumped our own gas. And I worked at a gas station when I was 16 years old. And I helped a guy work at a gas station for a while. I used to pump gas. And I remember when we switched to self-serve gas, a guy still had to go out and unlock the pump for you, and then you pumped your own gas. It was the dumbest thing in the world. It was kind of like Tesla taxis. They still got a guy sitting in the front seat, even though the taxi's driving itself. It's kind of goofy, but it was a Segway. And I remember how people bitched and moaned and complained, but the self-serve gas was, a nickel cheaper a gallon. So everybody eventually, submitted. Same with grocery lines. When you got grocery lines, they're auto grocery lines that have checkers at them. Eventually, people submitted. They always will. McDonald's right now, you walk in and there's a big board there and no people. People have learned to submit. There's less errors. It's quicker. And actually, believe it or not, McDonald's sells more through the kiosk than they sold through the pimple-faced kid that used to be at the front door, because the robot board never forgets to offer the upsell. It never forgets to suggest ice cream to go with your apple pie. It never forgets. It always performs. So frontline customer service for 99% of customer service will be completely agentic voice AI. And this is going to be 1,000% in effect in 2026. Right now, it's only in effect for mostly Fortune 500 companies, which leaves an opportunity for you guys out there that can do this. That's the size of the Grand Canyon of just putting in voice agents. Government offices all need it. So many people right now, I was talking to some business owners not long ago that were talking, they can't answer their phones now. They answer the phone and it's always phone solicitors that burn up all their time, right? But they just don't answer their phone. So when an actual customer calls, they don't get that call. So this is desperately needed. It's desperately needed right now. And I think in the AI space, this is very much a soft underbelly place. If you want to start working with clients, this is probably the easiest way to get a new client in that space right now. Content becomes worthless. Distribution becomes everything. If you've got email lists, and communities, I think somebody said before that communities were going to be valuable. Did somebody say that, Kasim? That you should go from community to community to community? The only things that are really going to be valuable are going to be the people within your social communities, people on your email lists, and people in your actual owned communities.
I
Again,
forgot to mention that one, y'all. 4 years ago, Perry said community is the future of marketing. We have that recorded too. That was before school and before WAP and before all that. Although, dude, that's shame on you. You should have built all that shit before they did.
I'm an asshole. I know. Um, but seriously, if you're looking at that, who's drawing on my screen, by the way? Somebody drawing on my screen? Don't be a shithead and draw on my screen, please. Whoever that is. Um, so yeah, it's crazy that everybody knows everything, right? You got a way to say it that might communicate it better. And it is, we don't talk about this in here. We're talking about soft skills. I don't want to forget it. Learning how to be a great verbal communicator is going to be one of the absolute greatest skills that you're going to be able to have in 2026. We'll talk about that in a second. See, somebody's drawing this crap all over my screen now. Does anybody know how to get that off or do away with that? Anybody helping on the call?
Soccer,
So,
can we track down who that person is?
Hover over it, yeah, and it'll show who it is.
uh-oh, somebody's going to get embarrassed. It just did, but it didn't. Now it won't.
Let's send their information to those.
If anybody did that, I'd greatly appreciate it if you would unmark that and not do that, please. Jason, somebody. Yeah, I saw Jason. I saw name Jason. Somebody pop up. Long last name. Jason, can you please not do that?
If you will stop sharing and reshare, it will go away.
If I'll stop sharing and reshare. Okay, great. All right. I guess I'll stop sharing and reshare because somebody likes to doodle.
Dude, Zoom's got too many available features that are too hard to turn off.
It's so irritating. Okay, there we go. So there will definitely be a there will definitely be a 5-person company that hits $10 million this year. I think it's going to be a lot of them. I find in our companies now, we have a solid rule: no more than 5 people in any given company. Usually, we start with 2. Over 5 is just ridiculous. You're going to see the revenue per employee go through the roof. You don't need to give up venture cap. You don't, and because of this, it's another big thing. Venture capital is going to dry up on the front end VC side because founders don't need the money. They don't need to go give up a bunch of equity to get their first $100 or $200 or $300,000. They can do it all with AI if they're driven founders. The people that are going to be out still looking for money to found a company, I would say avoid like the plague. I don't give anybody money to start a company now. I will give them all the money they want if they've proven that they can. If you, any of you out there, if you got a company where you've proven that you can bring in a customer for X, and in 2 or 3 months you get back XXX, and you need money to grow, call me. I'm your Huckleberry. I'll help you. I'll back a Brinks truck of money up at your back door, but I'm not going to do it based on, hey, I got a pretty good idea. What do you think? Well, I think you should spend some money on it, see if it works. That's what I think, but you're going to see this really create. That's the big thing. That's one of the biggest butterfly effects of this. Companies just don't need it. They don't need the startups are not going to need much anymore. With a couple of guys in an apartment, there might be a solopreneur unicorn that does $10 or $100 million this year. I would not be surprised at all to see that true. But I think $1 million an employee should be a baseline minimum revenue number. I really do. With the tools at your hand, you should be able to get with a 3-person company to $3 million really easy and beyond. And like I said, because of that, why would you give up a bunch of your company to get around when you just don't need the round? Either your thing works or it doesn't. The matter of adding piling more money on the top of an idea doesn't make the idea any better. Okay. The all-in-one platform finally dies. So, like I said earlier, subscription fatigue is a thing. Now, this is for business, but we're going to talk about subscription fatigue for average humans too, because it's shocking what you'll find there. It's really hit companies, and they're canceling broad swaths at the end of a year. Like we're right now, we'll go through our year end. We'll probably cancel what, 20 or 30 services before the end of the year, Emma? I'd say at least 20 to 30 before the end of before this year ends. And it happens all at once. We just go through and kill them. In fact, we've got cards now that we just cancel the card. So whatever was billed on that card for the whole year, we cancel it. And when they send us a notice saying, hey, we can't bill your thing, we're trying to bill your thing, then we can decide if we want that thing or not. Right. And you also do that, by the way. You should do a purge on all the shit that you're buying monthly right now from everybody except me. And do that at the end of this year. I'm just kidding. That was a joke about except me. Get it? But yeah, it's a big deal. But you're going to see companies like Zapier and Make and N8N absolutely explode because people are going to want these bespoke solutions where they just want this part and this part and this part and this part, but they're still going to need to tie that together in a way that it handshakes and works. So if you work in the marketing automation space of connecting AI tools together, connecting tools together to do jobs, you're going to do extraordinarily fine. But I think we're all going to have to adjust ourselves to not being able to depend on the breakage of monthly renewing revenue. And I know that's like saying, I won't use that dirty phrase, but I know for marketers to say we need to get away from monthly recurring revenue is like saying we all need to get away from sex, right? I know it's going to fly in the face. Most people are going to grossly disagree, but I'm telling you, buying habits are changing. People are wanting to buy something and own it. They're wanting to buy something and own it. They're not wanting a lingering tail where they know for a fact that you may or might not be doing anything this month, but they're still getting paid. But you're still paying them. I'm telling you, if that's your business model, it is not a sustainable business model. People need to pay for your services annually. I think that's still okay. Or they need to pay for one-offs. And I think you're going to find, and I think everybody I know is finding this, if they have a subscription right now, it's almost impossible to sell. It was always difficult to sell to front-end continuity. It's really hard now. The easiest way to do it is to sell a one-off service up front, and then maybe another, and then maybe you can get a maintenance contract or something to carry you over. But I think the idea of just having another thing that's going to be a monthly SaaS, I think you're putting a lot of effort in right now into a business model that is dying a natural death. Okay, unless you're like a utility. If you're a utility like Zapier or Make or a platform, that's the reason that nobody's really buying into the SaaS thing in Silicon Valley anymore. There's no real money going in it. The money's all going into, oddly enough, two things right now. According to my friend Kamal Ravikant, who's ear to the ground there, it's going into platforms, but it's also going into smart manufacturing. Smart manufacturing is probably the hottest thing going on in Silicon Valley right now because so much stuff's being shored back to America. So people who are doing smart manufacturing here, especially for goods that are AI native, like AI refrigerators and AI vacuum cleaners and AI whatevers, very popular right now. Your company, this is going to be super important in a way. Depends on what you do. For most of you guys, probably not, because I know a lot of you guys are web-based. I'm in the manufacturing business, right? Being able to power my manufacturing plant is probably going to cost me twice as much next year. You're going to see electricity prices skyrocket. So people are going to be moving to more rural places. They're not going to be in San Francisco anymore. They're going to be in West Texas where they can use wind and solar. They're going to be in West Virginia where they're building shitloads of data centers right now because the electricity is cheap. The real estate's cheap. The problem is all this new tech absorbs massive amounts of electricity. It's the reason that Microsoft made a deal with Constellation Energy to buy 3 Mile Island just to power. Microsoft bought one of the biggest nuclear facilities in America just to power Microsoft's data center. That should tell you something. So the cost of electricity is going to get super, super, super high because all the tech companies are going to suck it up. They're going to eat up anywhere, estimates say anywhere between 25 and 30% of all the electricity in America will be eaten by like 7 tech companies. Isn't that crazy? So what's left for us, is inevitably got to get more expensive. So being able to make your own electricity on site, facilities, I think it's in here somewhere in one of the sites that real estate that has its own energy source, solar, geothermal, whatever, is going to sell at a 30 to 40% premium over real estate that doesn't have that. So you're going to see where solar's been big in homes, solar is going to become huge commercially because the costs are going to skyrocket. They really are. One of my friends, Johnny Cole, right now, is on the board of a company. They build, Kasim, you'd be fascinated with this. They build micro nuclear plants. They're about 30 feet by 30 feet by 30 feet. They're just a big cube. And they can power a factory. They're a little nuclear plant. They're set to go in production 2028. So there's already legislation in to allow this. And it has to be under a certain amount, yada, yada, yada. But by 2028, companies are going to be able to, next door to their building, they're going to be able to plant a nuclear plant, a small micronuclear plant there. And it's inevitable. Nuclear is coming, whether you like it or not environmentally, nuclear is coming. There's no choice. We do not have enough power in America to sustain self-driving cars, quantum computing, AI, robotics, et cetera. We just don't have it. So if we want to continue to grow, we've got to have a power source other than fossil fuels. And the cleanest, safest one, believe it or not, is nuclear. So you're going to see nuclear come up really, really fast. Those cost, by the way, about $2.5 million. That's all. So $2.5 million, not that much to build one of those things. Installation, maintenance, and all that. But you're getting energy out of it at fractions of what it costs from the grid. So it pays for itself in a pretty short order. The outsourcing industry gets outsourced, right? So if you own an outsourcing business like I do, or did until about an hour after this call, it's time to get out of that business. That business is tough. It's very, very, very tough because the mid-management jobs that those people do can all be AI'd out now. The only answer to that is one person running 100 robots for a company. I think there's a model there of being an outsourced AI operator where you've got one of your outsourced people managing 100 bots for a company. That's a different animal. And I think this is probably going to be high paying. But man, the sector like that Infosys and all those guys are in that are running those great big campuses and buildings in the Philippines and India, they are just as dead as fried chicken. They got no chance of survival, none at all, because they're huge. In the Philippines, you can go over there and see where they've got buildings holding 100,000, a campus with 100,000 tech support people working in it, answering phone calls and chat. 100% of that's wiped out in 2026. At least 80% of it in one calendar year will be wiped out. It's going to make labor from the Philippines much more reasonable again, because it was getting a little expensive. And those companies, India is going to have a hard time with that. So I think India is going to go heavier to manufacturing. Philippines is getting back to manufacturing because that's favored nation. And some of those countries are really going to have to shift their priorities. But for you as an outsourced agency owner, if you're thinking about getting that business, don't. Okay, so let's move out of business for a minute and into culture. Everybody doing okay so far? Good. Compared to last year, how do you think we're doing, Kasim? Good. Yeah. Okay. I got a thumbs up.
I've already got 2 businesses I'm going to start because of you, and one I got to sell. So
Ozempic, Saul, I can't take questions right now. I might be able to if we have time in the middle, but type your question in the chat and I'll have Kasim or Saka or somebody in there, or Trisha or whoever's on, can maybe aggregate questions if people are unclear about things. If you guys can keep a list for me, I'd appreciate it. Culture and society. Nobody realizes how big a deal Ozempic is. Ozempic and GLP-1 drugs. Right now, depending on who you ask, legally, 12% of Americans, 12.4% of Americans are on Ozempic or tirzepatide or retatrutide. 12% legally via prescription. The estimate is 3 times more than that are on illegal peptides doing the same thing. But it changes everything. It changes everything, not only how we eat, but how we dress, how we date, all those things. The food industry, Ozempic is costing the food industry about $100 billion a year of food. But societally, it's great for us because it reduces our food need, the need to feed our people. We don't have as big a need to feed our people in the United States as we did. It also has comorbidities, which means that when people lose weight on Ozempic and these drugs, it wipes out about 20% of other disease that's related to that, diabetes and other related diseases. So while Ozempic is winning, other drugs are losing because from the drug standpoint are losing. The rich will be thin, right? At the end of the day, the rich will be thin because anybody who wants to pay for this can be thin. And I know that supposedly there's a bunch of stuff going through where you're going to be able to buy prescription Ozempic now for $100 or $200 a month. When that reaches mainstream, I think you're going to have a tipping point like you do with a VCR or the internet, where if you don't know the tipping point, if you never read the book, is that Gladwell's book, Tipping Point? Where at approximately 30% usage, which is about where we're at right now, that's usually a hockey stick point to where within another year or 24 months, 70 to 80% of people will be doing that thing, right? When 30% of people had a television, a couple years later, almost 100% had one. When they had a microwave oven, 30%, took years to get 30%. After that, you go to 70, 80, 90% penetration. Internet, same thing. So you're going to see Ozempic or these GLP-1 drugs rewrite everything. Everything. I don't know if it's in my predictions or not, but I absolutely believe that Applebee's will file for bankruptcy this year because of Ozempic. I think Chili's might file for bankruptcy. Olive Garden might file for bankruptcy. They are right now, what they're doing is really interesting. You're seeing restaurants now have half portion menus for people that are on GLP-1s. Plastic surgery for Ozempic face, right? Where people lost a lot of weight. They're not going to get boobs and butts anymore. They're going to get sagging skin taken up and tummy tucks because they've lost all this weight. So the effect of this, the butterfly effect of this is absolutely insane, right? It's absolutely insane. It's the biggest thing ever. There's actually metered fuel savings for airlines right now because of the weight the planes carry is lighter. Something I didn't put in here, by the way, it's not a slide in for this, but I heard it yesterday that I thought was an amazing stat. I was already done with these before I did it. Online gaming. I should have put something in here in online gaming. The number 12, I thought was a fascinating number. Do you know what that number represents? The average credit score drop for every citizen in a state 1 year after it approves online gambling. The average credit score of everybody in the state goes down by 12%. You got 12 points, not 12%, 12 points. Isn't that bizarre? That's how big an effect it has. So when you're seeing these things like Ozempic, right? One of the biggest categories here, I tell anybody this, we're talking about entering a partnership on this right now, selling supplements to these people. They need supplements for all sorts of things. They're not getting nutrition. They've got saggy skin. They've got, some people have nausea from these drugs. Selling things around the peripheral of this. Not that, I think the train has largely moved past us for selling the peptides and the drugs. Those markets have become established. But all the butterfly effects that come from this make a huge, huge, huge difference. And there's a prediction in the coming years that a more curvaceous figure for women will likely be more attractive to men. A more Botticelli kind of body will be more attractive because every woman that can get their hands on this stuff is going to be stick thin. And if you like a little meat on the bones, well, you know what I'm saying. you know, anyway. Okay. People finally declare war on the algorithm. This is really interesting. This is happening. If you watch a lot of stuff's happening in Silicon Valley, it's kind of cool, right? You can kind of see what's going on. No algorithm January, having holidays, restaurants and bars where there are no phones, no devices allowed. You drop your device on the way in. So there's real conversation. These things are happening right now in Silicon Valley. In the tech capital of the world, they're happening. They're happening in Europe. They're happening in parts of Asia where people are paying a premium to go to bars, restaurants, clubs where there's no electronics. If you know, if you're anybody here is a Soho House member, Soho House is a private business club, and they're all over the country, very expensive, very exclusive. But one of the things is you have to leave your electronics at the door. There's no staring at your phone. There's no taking calls inside the club. People have real human interaction. Let me see. Oh, this one's a big one. The loneliness epidemic sprawls. Friendship as a service. Paid $200 to have curated human connections. This is happening right now. You're probably seeing ads for base and different communities that are dinner clubs for starting in the business community, where they're dinner clubs so that you can go make friends. Dating apps are all dying right now. They're dying a slow death, except for Bumble, because the dating app Bumble had a side to it that was a friend app. It was a friend finder app. They've just put out a thing for their $49 membership now that if you don't make a great friend within 3 months, you get your money back. Make a friend. People are paying $49 a month to make friends, not to go on dates. To make friends. Loneliness is an absolutely international crises. Churches are beginning to get congregations back. Gyms are putting in social. Starbucks, guess what the new CEO of Starbucks said? How smart, how stupid they've been. Starbucks used to be called the third place. There was work, there was home, there was Starbucks. They're back to their roots. So they're back to making Starbucks super comfortable, sofas, music, games, nighttime drinks, coffee, wine. They're doing a lot of them doing wine and beer at night, and they're making it the third place. Again, I think based on that, Starbucks is probably going to come back to popularity if they can get their pricing under control. But loneliness is super, super, super big deal right now. The number one use of AI in the world today is companionship and self-therapy. Companionship and self-therapy, depending on how you look at it. The number one use. Way more than business. Way more than where's the grocery store. People are using AI as a companion because they have no fucking friends, right? So if you can help people solve this, you do something great for humanity and yourself. AI boyfriends, there's going to be a lot more people dating. Guys are forming relationships. If you go to Grok's really good at this. They're on top of it. If you go onto Grok and you want to make a connection and find somebody to talk to, it senses you're a guy, they're always going to hook you up with a girl, at least at first, until you tell them not to. And people are having hours of conversation a day with these AI boyfriends and girlfriends. And it's just a matter of time till this moves into a physical manifestation of a robot, right? They're going to be robot boyfriends and girlfriends. And you know what? It's going to, like everything else, like the self-checkout at the grocery store, it's going to look really weird at first. And then people are going to get used to it. People are going to get used to it because there's such a giant disconnect now. I'm a huge Scott Galloway fan. And Galloway talks all the time about what's going on with young men, the crisis of young men, especially in America, but all over the globe, that 50% of men under 34 right now are living a sexless life. 50%. 18 to 34 are living a sexless life. If a guy goes on a dating app right now, 10% of them get clicks. 90% of them get no clicks. If a woman goes on a dating app, short, tall, black, white, purple, big ones, little ones, all of them, they're getting 95% of them get attention. Guys don't, right? Why is that? Well, women have become far more independent. Um, there are way more guys chasing women than there used to be. More back in the day, in the 50s, you see the shows where I just need to find a husband. Women aren't necessarily looking for that anymore. And women are graduating from college at a much higher rate than men are. They're already getting better jobs than men are. They're more progressive in technology than men are. And women won't date down their social strata. So it's leaving these guys out there with nobody to love, right? So what are they replacing it with? Porn and video games. They're living parallel lives inside electronics. So this is not going to be that big a leap that now you're going to have a girlfriend to talk to, right? And eventually maybe one to sleep with that has self-warming and shit, God knows what, right? But this is not as crazy as it sounds. Don't let it sound crazy to you. By the way, if you can figure out a way to help these guys beyond this, it's a great humanitarian mission, because not coincidentally, I think it's 99% or 98% or 99% of mass shootings in the last 10 years have been perpetrated by young men, single, between 18 and 34. I don't think that's a coincidence, right? Okay. By the way, human matchmaking is back. Like the Yenta is back, right? If you want a great business, figure out how to human matchmake people. People don't want to do it with dating apps anymore. They largely didn't work to start with. They didn't pair people well. They were good for hookups, bad for relationships. I think that the old matchmaking world, there's high prediction that's coming back in a pretty heavy duty way. Human made becomes the new organic. Everything's going to be made by robots except what's not made by robots. Imperfect is going to be perfect. Imperfect is going to be premium. Perfect is not. If it's made by a robot, if it's injection plastic screwed together by a robot, it's not going to be valuable. I was on a plane, now it's probably 15 years ago, with a guy from this big company in Hong Kong called Li and Feng. They're one of the biggest importers in the world. And he was in Africa, coming back from a trip in Africa, sourcing. And I said, "What are you sourcing in Africa?" And he said, "Wood, leather, and stone." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because we know now," this was probably 12 or 15 years ago, "that pretty soon, nothing made by machines is going to be valuable. The only things that are going to be valuable are things that are going to be crafted out of stone, leather, and wood and natural materials. It's the only thing that's going to have any scarcity." Right? And you're already seeing it to be true. Leather shoes can be $300 a pair now, where plastic shoes are $14, That all the things that require natural materials to work with are all super valuable. And if they're hand carved, hand stamped, hand painted, hand anything, all of a sudden those are super valuable. And those are going to be the flexes beyond the Louis Vuitton brands, the Hermes brands, etc. By the way, I think it's down here somewhere. Hermes is about to release a $2,400 handbag because nobody's buying the $50,000 Birkin bag right now. It has ran its cycle. Gen Alpha, yeah. So the Gen Alpha crowd starts going to the library, starts going to the picnic, plays games, reads books, chooses again time to block out to get away from digital wellness, digital detox resorts are going to be a thing where you're going to go and learn over a couple of weeks, right? To disconnect from your electronics. Dating apps die, human matchmakers return. I talked about that just a little bit. The old Jewish Yenta model, gonna work. $800 plus. Human matchmakers charging $800 plus, become a prestigious service. Your grandmother, some method wins, right? So it's totally true. Match stock's gonna crater. All of them are. I think all the dating apps are going to hell in a handbasket. I think they're gone. I think they're dead. You're gonna see people paying to meet people in person. This is one that's really, really interesting. So we talked about it in business. Again, revolt against MRR. The average American right now is spending $219 a month on subscriptions. And when surveyed, they think they're spending $86. It was they just did this giant survey of, I forget how many people, it was more than 10,000 people. And they asked them how much they thought they were spending on subscriptions every month. And the average answer was $86. When they sat down and thought about it with a pencil and paper, and it turned out that they're actually spending $219. So TikTok coordinated the subscription cancellation day, right? Causes stocks to tumble. $1.5 trillion in subscriptions could go away in a single holiday, right? I'm telling you guys, I know you think I'm crazy, and I know you think, yeah, but MRR is the king, and MRR is the valuator, MRR is the this, and MRR is the that. And Perry's stupid, and he's caught on. He thinks this, he's all drinking his own Kool-Aid. I'm telling you guys, you're pissing up a rope. You're pissing in the wind to go out and sell more of these MRR products. You're just waiting. There's a referendum every month now. And you know what's really killed it? This little device right here, where the credit card companies ding you every time you get charged now, right? I know every time I get charged, it's a referendum and a reminder. Oh, I got to remember. When you get one of those, what do you say? Oh, yeah, I got to remember to cancel that. It's not a sustainable business model, guys. If you're going to have monthly recurring billing, it has to be for something people really, really, really want that brings real, real value to their life. And the value has to be, the subscription part of it has to be part of the value. Let me explain. I got a client right now in North Carolina. They're murdering it. They're in MRR. They've got great MRR. They do quarterly billing, but they got the perfect model for it. They send air filters to your house once a quarter. So that subscription is a great subscription because it reminds you once a quarter, you need to change your air filters. Now that's value. That's value in monthly recurring revenue. But only those kinds of businesses are going to survive the onslaught of the big cancellation wave. And if you don't think it's coming, you ain't alive, because it certainly is. Nobody likes it. Everybody hates the ding. Online becomes the ultimate luxury, right? Offline becomes the ultimate luxury. Again, back to the same thing, kind of beating the same dead horse, but phone-free social clubs like Soho House. The more offline you can get, the better. This is a big one. Soft skills finally pay off while your technical skills depreciate. So for the last 20 years, we've told our kids, you got to go get tech skills. You got to learn how to use the internet. You got to learn how to use AI. You got to learn how to do all this. All that is going to be so easy. Anyone can do it. But you know what's not going to be easy? Negotiation, sales, public speaking. Kasim and I had a long conversation recently about his actually real father, Jordan Peterson. And Jordan Peterson, Scott Galloway. I love Scott Galloway. He loves Jordan Peterson. We all have people that we like to listen to. And it's crazy. They're not usually the smartest people, right? You're listening to me right now probably because you like me more than my ability to make these predictions, right? Being able to communicate a point and connect with audiences is the best. All right. Toastmasters is seeing a giant surge in membership right now. Toastmasters, you know what they are? They're a club where you get together and you learn to be a public speaker. You learn how to better communicate with people. Great organization, by the way. I suggest everybody go join it. And I think you're going to see, instead of teaching STEM in school to kids, you're going to see more and more of this kind of training. Or there are going to be side programs where you send your kids off in the afternoon programs, and instead of learning science, technology, they're going to learn how to present, how to communicate, how to have interpersonal communications, persuasion. And not persuasion in a bad dark arts sense, but persuasion in a way. How do you get people to understand your ideas? I think that's one of the biggest slides in this whole presentation, by the way. Storytelling. Storytelling. It's going to be a long time before the AI can actually tell a story, really tell a story that connects with an audience. It can write a story, but it can't necessarily tell a story. And there's a whole different animal there. If you learn to articulate, I would rather be able to articulate than to learn. I can learn any data. Data is going to be easy to absorb. It's easy to come by now. But articulating that data like this, I went through 488 potential predictions to bring these down to this 50. So I gave you value in the I gave you value in the distillation, but now I want to give you value in my articulation of it. I think every kid should take drama class. I think every kid should take theater. I really do. Because it breaks you through to teach you how to communicate with audiences. The internet starts feeling fake because it is. I think you're going to see less and less and less people relying on internet search because there's no trust to it. You know, I have a company, qualified.org. Qualified.org's business is testing people to see if they really are qualified at what they say they're qualified at. I think that business is going to skyrocket in 2026 because it's so much bullshit. There's so much bullshit. Everybody's a fucking expert, right? Pardon my French. Everybody's an expert. But there's no way to really verify that. So verification is going to be giant in the coming year. The hustle culture starts dying away. Talking about how you're a workaholic and I'm grinding all day and yada, 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 yada. The nap's going to win. The flex is going to be taking a nap at noon and sleeping for an hour and a half. The flex is going to be the ability to be bored. The ability to just be peaceful, right? Suits and watches and power ties are going to go away. Look at Adam Sandler. I love Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler always has that baggy ass shirt on and those Adidas pants. You know why? Because that's what he likes wearing. And if you don't like
the
it,
amount of shit you've talked, because I wear basketball shorts and a t-shirt to Driven.
You still can't wear a basketball shorts and a t-shirt to Driven.
Wow.
you can wear any fucking thing you want anywhere. Don't worry about it. You got enough money. Kiss my entire ass. Wait till you see me at AI Bot Summit. Emma's going to shit a chicken. All right. You know what I wear right now at the house? I'm not going to show them, but I have them on right now. I wear women's silk pajama pants. You know why? Because they feel good. And I don't give a fuck.
That's actually not as disturbing as I thought what you were going to say.
I don't have to prove to anybody anything. Right? If you want to write me a bigger check than what I got in the bank, I'll listen to what you want me to wear. Other than that, tough shit. Politics. Let's talk politics because politics is always fun. Maybe we'll get to religion. Okay. Politics and regulation. We're not going to do religion, but politics and regulation. This won't apply to most people, but it will if you have any global business. This UI/AI Act is not a joke. You're pretty much going to have to decide that you're probably going to have to put another company in Europe to operate under these rules, or you're going to have to block the whole European bloc from buying from you. There's not going to be much choice. These fines are getting crazy. They're suing people, and it's real. It's really real. So I don't want to dive into that too much, but that's going to really take effect in 26. They're going to start aggressively. The GDPR rather, they're going to aggressively begin enforcing GDPR, and they're going to begin to enforce it against smaller companies. They've made examples so far of great big companies, and if you've noticed, the fines have been enormous, and the companies have just paid them because they wanted to play in their sandbox. I think long term, it's going to curse the EU to the Stone Age because they're making it very, very difficult for technology companies to operate in the EU. I think it's a really dumb idea for the EU's sake, but that it is what it is. In 2026, some company will go broke, will go completely bankrupt because of a giant security breach. I think that will absolutely happen. I don't know who it's going to be, but I'm betting that it is. Cybersecurity budgets are shifting toward AI because the AI is so much smarter now. Think about this before. You were dealing with Jimmy the hacker in his mom's basement before. Now you're dealing with the most brilliant AI in the world. And these localized AI, so that you can't hack a lot of stuff using large language models, right? They won't let you, they have guardrails. But when you pull a model in and you host it yourself, guess what? No more guardrails. So the hackers are building models right now that are just for hackers to host on local machines or offshore on a server somewhere. So this is going to be the biggest year probably stock wise for AI security companies ever, because the threat is multiplied times the effort of AI. I got to move faster. I'm spending too much time. JD Vance becomes the most powerful VP since Cheney. I really believe this is true. There's a lot of money toward Vance right now. I think Trump has used up his usefulness to the powers that be, generally speaking, and he's almost lame ducked right now, other than what he can do in the executive branch. You know, this is not, I'm not doing this because I believe liberally or conservatively. I'm kind of in the middle, but I really do believe it's going to happen. I think JD Vance is going to be the story and in politics going forward. And in fact, I think, I don't know if it's in a slide down here or not, I think that Gavin Newsom becomes completely irrelevant to the 2028 race. I thought Newsom was going to be the candidate. I think he absolutely will not be the candidate. I think you're going to see the Democrats go out and find a new Jimmy Carter. They're going to go to a little rural state and they're going to try to find somebody and they're going to run that person on decency and ethics. And we'll see if that works or not. But I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be Josh Shapiro from Ohio or Andy, gosh, I can't think of his last name right now. Andy Beshear from Kentucky. Those are my thoughts right now, but you don't know. These characters can emerge. Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer from Georgia, but if you look back in time, historically, when's the last time that we had a presidency in so much turmoil as the Trump presidency and so much controversy? It was Nixon. Nobody's even close. He has the lowest poll numbers ever in history for president except Nixon, right? What happened right after Nixon? We elected Jimmy Carter because we wanted a president with a higher moral character, and the good old peanut farmer from Georgia seemed like the guy to fit the bill. Doesn't mean that's right for the country or anything, but I think you're going to see a lot of attention go to Vance, and there's very much likely going to be a power play between Vance and Trump after the midterms, because Vance is going to have to start building his own house, and Trump's going to likely be an albatross around his neck. So you're probably going to see a lot of challenge there. I don't know what that means exactly for us, but I thought it'd be fun to throw it in there. The debt ceiling's coming back up in January again. I think it's January or February, where U.S. Treasuries have to pay their bills. I think there's going to be a huge fight over the debt ceiling. And I think it's going to be like another government shutdown. We have another government shutdown looming in a couple of weeks, by the way. And then then we'll have the debt ceiling thing looming on. Whoever's on the wrong side of that politically is going to lose the midterms. And I really think it's going to be the Republicans. I think the Republicans are going to get slaughtered in the House. I think they probably will hold the Senate, but I think by the skin of their teeth. But here's what's great about that. Here's what's great about all this destruction. What's great about that, when we get deadlocked between one administration holding a House, another holding a Senate, another holding the White House, the stock market loves that. They love it. It's when stocks rally the most. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit and why that's probably true here again. Democrats flip the House, 20 to 30 seats is my guess. 20 to 30 seats. I think that the Republicans probably hold the Senate, but we'll see. What's your tariff strategy becomes something a CEO has to talk about, because these tariffs are crazy. If they're not completely struck down, the best thing that can happen for the Republicans in the Trump campaign right now is for the Supreme Court to strike down the tariffs. He would be a much more popular president without the tariffs, in my opinion, because everybody's figured out now that they pay the tariffs. So, but companies are going to have a strategy to deal with tariffs. Right now, I don't know if you saw a couple of days ago, Costco just sued the government over the tariffs. You're seeing big retailers. Revlon just sued the government over the tariffs. They want their money back because basically the tariffs were illegal, and they're going to go to the Supreme Court to prove that. If they prove it, the government has to give back $200 billion in tariffs that's already collected. Republicans fight each other over the tariffs. This is going to be the big debate in the Republican space in the first quarter. They're going to be fighting tooth and nail. And it's going to really hurt the Republicans, I think. Tech billionaires buy politicians like NFTs. You're going to see more money come in to super PACs this year from tech companies than anyone else because they want license to do what they want to do. And whoever gets on their side the most is going to get the most money. This carbon tax thing in Europe is going to permeate to the United States, especially if we, the carbon tax is interesting because the carbon tax has to do with what you import into your country and what you export. So if you're importing goods from China that took a lot of carbon to produce, that tax gets transferred from China to you. So you're going to get taxed on that environmental thing. It's how we're going to raise money to fight environmental causes for countries like China that won't fight them. So this is definitely coming to the United States. If you get a liberal government back into place again here, this is definitely coming to the U.S. So be careful what you import and where it comes from. Kids start suing their parents for posting baby photos. This is already happening, right? Everybody's IP is everybody's IP. It's going to be a little weird, but this is kind of an outlier. I thought it'd be a fun thing to throw in there. Internet splinters into national fiefdoms. So I think you're going to see the internet, all the internet in different countries are going to have different rules. So this is going to be very hard to navigate for a while. It's kind of like navigating sales tax between states. Some have sales tax for internet goods, some don't. Some things tax on this, some things tax on that. There will be big businesses. There will be somebody will build a giant business that doesn't exist today that will just keep companies in compliance across the globe that want to be global companies. This is going to be a big, big, big thing. Investments and markets. This is not my total investments talk. NVIDIA keeps winning, right? It just can't. It can't keep from winning. It's got all the technology. Everybody else is falling behind. They're gaining on AMD and Intel every single day. Countries that can't get their chips fall behind in technology. Companies that can't get their chips fall behind in technology. They're making billion-dollar investments into OpenAI. OpenAI is taking that $1 billion and buying chips back. It's crazy what's going on in the market right now, but NVIDIA is going to keep going. Data centers become the most valuable real estate in the world. I wish I had more time to dive into data centers. Go ask ChatGPT, I have $100,000 and I would like to make money from the data center boom. How can I do it? There's like 10 ways that you can go make money, more than 10 ways from the data center boom. I'm going to say a number that you guys really can't wrap your heads around, to be honest. But the number is $1.2 trillion. That's basically, I think, roughly the U.S. budget for a year, is it not? I don't know how much our budget is. It's something like that. But the bill, when Biden put all that money in the United States, everybody said, "Oh my God, he's bankrupting us to billions of dollars to people, trillions of dollars to people." A lot of that money went to building data centers. That money's just now being released. It's just now being released, right? $1.2 trillion will be spent in data centers in the next 24 months. 24 months. That's more than all U.S. home building combined. A lot more. So if you can suck on this teat, you're going to make a lot of money. Drilling, trenching, maintenance, manhole digging, concrete finishing, hot shot transport of equipment, technical equipment transportation, staffing, training. They're going to need 400,000 people to work in these data centers, and nobody has a training program teaching you how to work in a data center. You want $1 billion idea? There you go. Go start a trade school for people who know how to work in data centers. These are the opportunities. The thing is, this year for me, this year for Perry, I'm freaking waking up now. So this year for Perry is different. I've always done this and I've been off of it for a couple of years. I've always rode waves. I've always rode the waves. And every time I look back when I've made 20, $30 million in a year, it's always been because I got on a wave. I got in early on the internet. I got in early on specialty retail. I got in early on AI. I got in early on digital education. I got in early on these things. I get in early on survival preparedness to $36 million in a year. I got in early on a lot of things. It wasn't because I was smart. It was because my timing was good. If you're riding a wave like this, all you got to do is put your foot in the river. The current's going to carry you. It's so much easier. When you got a headwind, like this, like this headwind, this is going to be the housing bubble of 2008. Office. It's bad, bad, bad news. A lot of this office space they're trying to retrofit to residential is not going to retrofit well. And people aren't going to want to live in downtowns anyway, because downtowns are going to be decimated by stay-at-home populations and no need to go downtown. There's going to be nobody in office buildings downtown to go downstairs and eat lunch and shop and do things. So downtowns are going to largely cease to exist in a lot of towns. A lot. Not all of them, but a lot. And all this commercial real estate sitting around this office right now, man, alive. You're going to see incredible losses in commercial REITs that are in office space. It's going to be one of the worst places you can possibly be next year. GLP-1 drug market is going to hit $100 billion next year. $100 billion. That's the legitimate market. That's not the lab peptides market, which I can't believe they haven't stomped out yet. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I predict that'll probably go away in 2026 because there's too many billions of dollars at play here for the drug companies to allow that to continue. But the spending projection here is insane. And so if you want to now, so what's the short of that? Short Pepsi, Coke, McDonald's, Frito-Lay, right? Because people are getting healthier. How many people do you know, by the way, that have quit drinking this year? I think everybody knows somebody who was a heavier drinker who's just quit drinking this year. You know why? Largely GLP-1 drugs. GLP-1 drugs, their big thing is cessation, right? So you don't feel the desire to go drink. You don't feel the desire to go gamble. You know, a lot of things that are like obsession driven or addiction minded driven are going away. And one of the things about these GLP-1 drugs, they're getting approved now for that. They're getting approved for addiction. There are new drugs out there for liver disease, heart disease, all GLP-1. A whole new generation of drugs are coming to the market right now that didn't exist, that are going to wipe out traditional medication in mass. So a lot of big pharma who didn't get into GLP-1 or got in late, they're going to suffer. The leaders are going to win. Shadow banks eat traditional banks for lunch. So most people don't know what this company Apollo is. You need to look them up. Apollo is a little like Blackstone. So everybody knows who Blackstone is. Apollo is actually the darling child of Wall Street right now, beyond Blackstone, BlackRock, or any of them, because they're using debt. They're basically loaning money and then foreclosing on companies. That's their business model. But they're going down now. Get this. So they're going down now to Main Street. So Apollo's launching retail units now to loan money to smaller businesses. The $1 million, $2 million, $3 million local businesses, not the $100 million businesses, the $1 billion businesses. They're loaning money, knowing that in many cases, they're going to foreclose on that business. They're using debt. It's called convertible debt. They're using convertible debt to lock down these businesses. So they're buying up all these regional banks that do business lending and closing out the retail banking side of them to only have a business banking side. It's going to be a really interesting time. I think the S&P hits $7,800 to $8,000 by the end of the year. I think there's no way that it can't. I don't see a bull market coming. If we have an adjustment, it's going to be 10 to 15% down, but by the end of the year, we'll be back up to $7,800 to $8,000. It can't be anything else. Now, 27, 28, different story. I think 27, 28 is when correction really sets in. Because the problem is, if you think about this, I almost made a prediction I won't make. I think that NVIDIA will hit somewhere between $6 and $8 billion in valuation this coming year. I think it's going to run away. 6 to 8 billion, 6 to 8 trillion rather. But if it does, here's why it does. It's because AI has grown so much and replaced so many employees that their chips are going to be just selling like crazy still, which means corporations in 2026 are going to make a fortune. Their P&Ls and profit sheets are going to be freaking fat as fat as the fat kid on the McDonald's commercial. They're going to be fat, right? But at the price of displacing millions of employees. So eventually, those displaced employees, they're going to make things cheaper. So I should have done better at explaining this. I think what's going to happen, this is what I think is going to happen in the next 3 years. And we're talking about 26, but in the next 3 years, I think what's going to happen is corporate profits are going to be at an all-time high next year. Humans are going to get displaced. Robots are going to start making most of the things that we use and need every day. So things are going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So it's not going to be inflation other than in housing and things like that. But there's going to be a lot of unemployment for a while, and people are going to have to readjust. So if NVIDIA is this successful and if the S&P is this successful, it means that came true. So in 27, 28, 29, you're going to have a whole lot of people that are going to burn through their savings accounts, burn through their 401ks, and be living on the street. So we could get in really ugly times like post-apocalyptic times in 27, 28. And I think that's the reason why I think you're going to have a state next year, and I think it's going to be Alaska, a Republican state that's going to put in a universal basic income. And I think eventually it'll be followed by a lot of other states. But I think the first state, believe it or not, will be a Republican state, Alaska, because they kind of sort of already have it. The Magnificent Seven, I'll start sharing this. So nobody really pays attention to this, but the stock market's been carried by 7 stocks. 100%. Almost all the growth has come out of 7 stocks. But that's given the rest of the S&P, the other 493, the ability to take a breath and retool. And I think you're going to see a lot of those companies catch back up. I think you're going to see those companies grow by 20% next year. And they've been lagging. They've had negative growth or flat growth while all the tech's grown. I think the tech's probably going to slip a little next year, maybe, but I think the 493 underneath are really going to grow. And I'll give you some particular ones in a minute if you want them. The IPO market finally wakes up. Here's why it's going to wake up. Hot potato. You got all these private equity firms who have put millions and millions of dollars, in some cases billions of dollars, in round B, round C, round D funding into companies, and they've continued to gain value. Now they're nervous because these big companies like Salesforce that had a great big valuation, as companies start decoupling from these big companies like Salesforce for smaller customized solutions, their valuations are going to pummel. So what's private equity going to do? They're going to dump them. They're going to go public and dump them to the public market. And you're going to take the haircut. Private equity is going to get out. The public's going to take the haircut when they go to shit, right? This is almost surely going to happen, and it's going to happen quick. I think you're going to see the first quarter 2026 be the biggest IPO market maybe ever in history. I think everybody's going IPO in first quarter. Bitcoin becomes boring in a good way. I think you're going to see a lot of companies, you're already seeing it, holding Bitcoin as a hedge on their balance sheets. It's a really weird strategy, but there's a lot of companies right now, you're seeing their stock of these companies go up and down because of how much Bitcoin they hold. If Bitcoin goes up, stock goes up. Bitcoin goes down, stock goes down. So they're holding it as a hedge like gold. It's really, really interesting. The first major AI bubble correction arrives. You're going to start to see the little AI companies that are built on the back of other AI, like stuff like Replit that I use all day. But Replit's built on the back of Claude, right? The networks, the rails are going to stay in place. The Claudes, the OpenAIs, the Geminis, those guys, they're likely going to stay in place and duke it out for whoever wins at the end of the day. But these things that are built on top of them, that are all but wrappers, right? I could practically build another Replit tomorrow if I really wanted to. It'd probably take me a month to build my own Replit because it's just an interface that's talking with another coding language. That's it. It's not that sophisticated. So those are going to probably go away, and there's going to be huge consolidation in that space. And what's going to happen, the big guys are going to buy up the little guys at 70 cents, at 30 cents on the dollar, and they're going to roll them in, right? Stable coins go mainstream. You're actually going to be able to pay for stuff next year, I predict, with US stable coins. You're going to be able to do it with, as soon as Amazon says we take stable coin, then cryptocurrency is a thing. But by then it's late. it's late. So, and I'll give you my prediction on crypto in a minute. And I could be totally, there's so many more people, but you know what? I think everybody that predicts cryptocurrency has the same chance I do, because it's fairy dust anyway. It's just, it's just, I think it's going to be this. I think it's going to be that. I'll give you my reasons why I believe it to be true in a minute, where that market's at when we get to financials. First time VC fund managers become extinct, right? Nobody's going to give money to a VC fund with an unproven guy. You're going to see the big VC funds get bigger, and you're going to see the smaller ones. There'll be no new ones because nobody's going to trust their money to new fund managers. They've just had such a bad run of it. And a lot of the stuff they were buying on the peripheral is all going to zero valuation. Those guys are going to be gone. Energy storage is really, really, really interesting. So there's a new storage device right now called the air ion battery. I don't talk about it in here. Oh yeah, I do. Air ion batteries. Really interesting. It's cheap, and it's giving you the ability to solve the biggest problem with solar. You're going to be able to store solar and wind energy for 3 or 4 days with these really, really, really cheap batteries. And this is going to change everything. The problem with solar right now is you have to sell that off to the grid right away, and it's a diminishing commodity. So if the prices are low, you got to sell it. The prices are high, you got to sell it. When you've got batteries like this, you can store that energy to sell it only in peak hours, things like that. Battery has been the biggest challenge. This is not a battery that's going to solve the mobile car problem because they're too heavy, but it really does solve the stationary battery. I think you're going to see these in damn near every home, because you can have 3 days with a battery about the size of a small desk in your garage. You're going to be able to store 3 days worth of electricity in there. So if the grid goes out, you're good for 3 days. If you've got solar on the roof, you're good, right? If it's not sunny for 3 days, you're still good, right? This is going to be really game-changing technology. Native AI becomes a superpower. You're for valuations. If your company is built as a native AI company, like ours is an AI first company, we're building all of our companies as AI first. You're going to see a premium of up to 3 times multiples, 3 additional multiples for being that kind of a company. So those are the 50 basics. I'm going to get to the financials in a minute, but this is a question like, how are you going to position yourself in 2026? What are you going to do? How much of this are you going to pay attention to? Are you going to bury your head down in the sand? And wait to see what happens. Right. So I want to put this link here real quick and show you guys. We Kasim and I and Jason host something called the Driven Mastermind. And some of you guys that are on here are from Driven. This is what we do. We work together as a group, share what's going on in all of our businesses. There's about roughly 100 of us in that group that meet 4 times a year. If you don't have a mastermind home, or if you have one that's not on the cutting edge of what's going on, we invite you to apply for Driven Mastermind. I'm going to go on. I've still got financial predictions for you guys. I'm just taking a break for a second to tell you about it. If you want to apply for Driven and you know you want to be a Driven member, go there and do it. If you want to come join us in January for our event in what is that, the 12th, Kasim?
It's the Tuesday, Wednesday.
Thursday, 13th and 14th then.
Yep.
So January 13th, 14th, we'll be in Nashville, Tennessee at the beautiful Gaylord Resort. We'd love to have you as a guest. If you want to apply to come be a guest, or if you just like, hell no, I want to be in a group like this, I need this kind of stuff in my life, you can just apply for Driven in that top link. And if not, you can do the link at the bottom. And who wants to go over to financials and figure out what stocks to buy next year? Anybody interested? This one's a lot shorter, by the way.
This is
We all
not
good?
investment advice, incidentally.
This is not investment. And by the way, I own many of the stocks in here, and I'm short many of the stocks in here. So I don't know what that, I'm not telling anybody to buy these or to sell these. I'm giving you no advice whatsoever. I'm just telling you kind of what I'm doing. You choose to do whatever the cornbread hell it is that you decide to do. Sound fair? All right. So let's hop over to that presentation. Has everybody got those drivenmastermind.com/apply? Or this big long one? drivenmastermind.com/Jan-20. We probably could have put an easier tail on that. -2026-guest-RSVP. So just screenshot that real quick.
I dropped them in the chat too, if you're looking at the chat.
All right, cool. Well, enough of that. So let's go over to investments. We cool? Now somebody's got to remind me of how I did this before. How the hell did I get to here before? Remind me what I did. Share. Does anyone remember? Publish the site. Is that it? Yeah, I think that was it. Hold on. I'll be with you in 1 second.
Where's Chris Luck when you need him?
Right? Oh, gee whiz. Okay. We might just scan through these here. Do you remember how I did that? Site enabled, visit site. All right, look at that. Look at that. I'm a technological wizard after all. Okay. So, all right. So now let's get to, so we talked about predictions of what's going to happen culturally, what's going to happen business-wise, what could happen politically, what could happen medically, health-wise. I think that, I don't think this year's revelations were as big a revelations as they were in previous years, because people's eyes, for the most part, are at least somewhat open. But I think that of those predictions I gave you before, the one word that I would use that you need to pay attention to is velocity. All of this is happening faster than me or anyone else predicted that it would, right? It's all happening faster. So here's some investments that I feel sure are going to gain value. NVIDIA's probability of gaining value, in my opinion, is at least 85% for 2026. I am long NVIDIA for now. I'm long NVIDIA into all the way through 2026, and then we'll see what it looks like. But I think in 26, NVIDIA is going to have a crazy year and may double. And they're already the most valuable company in the world. But I think they could double. And they won't have the same growth trajectory they had the last time I predicted this, because they're already got too big. But I think they were at $1 trillion. I don't think they were at $1 trillion yet when I made that prediction, and now they're at $4 trillion. So they went up 400% in a year. I don't think they'll go up 400% this year, but I think they could reasonably double. Here's who I think could go up 400% next year. Oh, did I delete something? I did. I missed one. I deleted a slide on accident. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Eli Lilly. I think Eli Lilly's going to have a hell of a year. They are the leaders in GLP-1 drugs. They're already selling more GLP-1s than anybody else, but they have more drugs in the pipeline. They got a shitload of drugs in the pipeline, GLP-1. They're so far ahead of everyone else in GLP-1 drugs. This company, I think, could go up 400% in a year. It's going to go up a lot. Lilly's going to go up a lot. There's already quite a lot cooked into it for 26. I don't know about 400%, but it depends. It really, really depends. If they launch 2 or 3 more blockbuster drugs in 2026, which it looks like they're gonna, you could see some real movement out of Lilly. A little less certain. These guys own Novo Nordisk. I always say that the wrong way. But they own Wegovy and Ozempic. They own the biggest brands in GLP-1 drugs. They're the best branded, but they don't have the pipeline. So they're not going to be as valuable, but I think they will continue to grow at, likely doubling in 2026. CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is the Fortune 500's favorite for cybersecurity. I think these guys are going to grow like a rocket. They could be a real Cinderella story. If you have one of these big stories where a company goes bankrupt or a CEO gets fired because they almost go bankrupt because of an AI threat, these guys are going to go to the moon. If there's there could be a giant cyber attack on the United States, there could be a governmental cyber attack. They're going to go to the moon. As soon as awareness goes up, selling cybersecurity is like selling home security systems. You go bang the doors in the neighborhood that's where there's been a robbery, a break-in, a home invasion, you're always going to sell a lot. As soon as the world hears about big cybersecurity breaches by AI, all the other corporations are going to cover their ass and spend more and more and more money with CrowdStrike. Apollo, that's the company I was telling you about that's using debt to fund businesses. So they're buying up regional banks right now. The regional banks, you're probably going to see some regional bank closures this year, maybe even some regional bank bankruptcies this year. It's possible. Regional banks are being squeezed by national banks hard. And the big 4 or 5 national banks, they already own the vast majority of the banking industry. But Apollo's sliding in, and what they're buying, you got to understand what they're buying. They're buying what hedge funds want the most. If you've ever watched Billions, did anybody watch Billions? Who watched Billions was a Billions fan? What did Axe want more than anything else? What was the one thing that he wanted more than anything else that he couldn't get? He wanted one thing. Anybody in the chat? Gosh, the chat's going kind of, wow. He wanted a bank. Why do you want a bank? Because banks can loan money. Instead of investing money, you can loan money. And when you loan money, when I invest money with you, I have covenants and I can sue you and all that. I can't necessarily get my money back easily. When I loan you money, I just foreclose. I foreclose. That gives me strength. So Apollo has strength over all the other hedge funds because they're buying these regional banks so they can make loans to companies. It's a much heavier footprint. Apollo is the new Blackstone. Those guys are going to go to the moon. They really, really are. I can't say this. Equinix, I guess it is. This is the largest builder of data centers in America right now. And they're holding the real estate on these data centers in a lot of cases. They're building them and holding the real estate and leasing them to the tech companies. They've got the #1 asset class in the world of real estate today. It's not commercial, it's not residential, it's not warehouse, it's not office, it's data centers. It's the #1 most bankable real estate class in the world right now, and they are the leaders in it. I think this is not going to be a multiples growth, but they're going to throw off, I think they pay dividend. They're going to throw off giant earnings. They can't not do it because these data centers are being built with no budgets, man. They got no budgets for these things. Build it as fast as you want, charge us whatever you want, just let us turn on the lights. There's a business right now in the data center space. This is really interesting. If anybody's on the call that does this, I'd love for you to reach out to me. Because I'd love to be in the business. There's a huge business of permit acceleration. So every day that these permits are not getting approved for these data centers are costing them between $500,000 and $2 million a day for every day they can't get permits approved. And for the most part, it's not about somebody who knows how to fill out the paperwork. They got that. It's more about political lobbying, because a lot of the data centers are getting blocked. Communities don't want them for whatever reason, because they're going to make power bills go up. This is something you should know. If they build a data center in your neighborhood, your power bill is going to go to the fucking moon, because they're going to buy all the power off your grid. So the electricity company is going to sell you what's left over at a big premium, right? So cities don't want them. So going in and greasing the right palms and getting the right politicians and lobbying and slushing their money around to get permits through is a business. Very interesting. But these guys are going to do really well. ServiceNow, same thing. These guys, so here's what's crazy about AI right now. AI is growing at 39% a year, which sounds low. AI spending is growing at 39% a year. But to be around as long as it's been around now, about 5 years in the mainstream, that's pretty good. AI implementation is growing at 200 to 500% a year right now. 200 to 500% a year, right? ServiceNow, they're the leaders at implementing AI. They get hired. It's kind of this triangle, right? So you bring in PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deloitte, McKinsey to tell you what you need to do. And then you go to ServiceNow and ServiceNow does it. They put it into action. And get this, I want to put this in your head, right? McKinsey and Company, they just sell advice. All they sell in the world, their only product is advice, telling you what to do. They were the largest user of AI tokens in the world last year, above all other companies. And they billed $18 billion last year for advice. $18 billion. They don't do anything. They just advise you what to do. And then when you say, okay, pull the trigger, go do it, more than likely, McKinsey goes and hires ServiceNow, and they put those recommendations into place. But this is all at the Fortune 500 level, right? The opportunity downstream is enormous. It's the largest in the world. I think the biggest opportunity in the world today for most entrepreneurs is to become an AI implementer, to have an AI implementation company. I own techstack.com. I'm long in it for sure. Palantir. If you don't know who Palantir is, you need to know who they are. They're basically defense. They're defense contractors. A lot on the technology side of defense, though, defending against cyber attacks, but they're also in the drone business and the gun business and the intelligence business and everything else business. They're the Google of, they are to defense what Google, they're the Google to defense, and the people that are going away are like the Lockheed Martins and all those guys that had those contracts in the past. They're not going away, but these guys are taking a big chunk out, because those old slow moving companies that really know how to build tanks and shit, the next wars won't be fought with tanks. They'll be fought with intelligence, electronics, power grid outages, and drones, right? These guys are on the leading front of that. They're growing like a weed already. Constellation Energy. I think the probability of them doing well is really high. Constellation went into partnership to buy 3 Mile Island and bring it back online for Microsoft. So they're leading nuclear, and we have to have power. That's the thing. Every hyperscaler in the world needs power. They have to have it to operate, and there's not enough power. Constellation Energy is the longest standing company with the best reputation for safety in nuclear energy in the world. I think it's a great bet for 2026. Recursion Pharmaceuticals. This is a really interesting company. So this is kind of my long shot, but I'd take a nice little long shot horse bet on them if I were you. I'd go throw a couple $1,000 into these guys. So what they're doing, they're using AI to create drugs. So it costs big pharma billions to patent a drug. but they're discovering all these drugs with AI for millions of dollars instead of billions of dollars. And they're discovering them in giant swaths. And the FDA is beginning to FDA is beginning to approve these drugs, especially for markets where there are no drugs currently in cycle. So you've got a lot of small diseases out there, orphan diseases where there aren't drugs. And the big pharmaceutical companies can't afford to develop drugs for them. So the FDA is making exceptions for AI drug generation and creation for what they call orphan diseases. And these guys, Recursion is really the leader in that space. And I think they're going to do very well. Now let's talk about the turds for a minute. How's everybody doing, by the way? We all doing good? Am I keeping people here? Has everybody left yet? Oh, we
We're
still got
holding
some,
strong, dude.
we still got some folks here. Yeah.
You haven't offended anybody else beyond the Indians, I will say. We got to start spreading that love
I got to
around.
work on that. I got to work
know.
on that. I got to work on that. Surely there's an Asian in here. Oh, I'm going to offend Asians at the end. That's going to be good.
Excited to hear.
Okay. Yeah, cool. We're leaving the Hispanics and the black folks out right now. We don't really have anything for them today. Okay. So the turds, who's going to lose? By the way, if you haven't went to that little link to sign up to be a guest, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth version of this and a bunch of other stuff that's going to be cool like this at that Nashville event. And I'll tell you, to get there on the 15th and be able to sit in the room with 100 other forward-thinking entrepreneurs and plan your 2026, even if you don't join us, even if you just come as a guest and you decide not to join us in Driven, which you'd be psychotic if you did that. But if you did decide to not join us and you just come to see how the other half lives, right? And the kind of stuff that they're doing, I think it would be pivotal to your 2026. Because I'm giving you all these ideas, but you're going to see those plans falling into action more at Driven. So hopefully you'll come join us. Okay, who's going to lose? Number one, Boston Properties. They're going to be an absolute turd. Short these guys with everything you got, in my opinion. I take that back. I don't have an opinion. But I think that the deal is they're one of the largest office REIT holders in the whole United States. They're probably going to decline 90% over the next 12 months in value. They're going to definitely have to suspend any dividends. And one of the problems is, guess what? Guess what they own a lot of? They own a lot of real estate that's occupied by regional banks, and they're funded by regional banks. So this is the kind of thing that's going to tear down these regional banks. These regional banks built a lot of these offices for these REITs, and it's a cascading effect. As the offices are left unoccupied and the owners can't pay the rents, right? The loan or the mortgages go bad. The REITs lose value and they default. And as the REITs default, they're defaulting on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of buildings at a time. Most all that paper's held by regional banks, not by national banks. If you notice, most of the time when you see an office building going up, it doesn't say funded by Citibank or funded by Wells Fargo. It says funded by First Tennessee Bank or funded by Arizona National. They're in the business of funding these things, and they've been in the business of funding them for a long time. They're going to take a giant heater, and some of the least secure banks are going to be wiped. My second short, Salesforce. I think these guys are going to be the poster child for the unbundling of SaaS. If you've ever used Salesforce before, you know that's an Indian word for give me more fucking money. And they're just absolutely awful. They're absolutely awful to deal with. Everything is within their ecosystem, their Dreamforce thing. And you know who hates Salesforce more than anybody in the whole wide world? CFOs. Because they're constantly having to spend more and more and more and more and more money on something they were told they could buy one time and you pay a fee for. It doesn't work that way. They're constantly, not only you have to pay Salesforce, you got to pay all the value-added resellers. You got to pay your Salesforce techs that cost a fortune. And honestly, does it do a good job? Yeah. Is it the end all be all? Absolutely no. And there's a million things that can replace it right now. Even Go High Level. You're seeing companies come out of Go High Level and out of HubSpot, and HubSpot's doing a little better than Salesforce, but dropping down into freaking Go High Level or going into customized tools built just for them. And that's where 2026 is going. So you're going to see companies, as times get leaner and leaner in these traditional markets, because like the Christmas tree market's not going away, or the retail market's not going away, or none of these markets, these existing markets that aren't in AI, they're not necessarily going away. They're just going to consolidate, and they're businesses that can only compete on one thing and one thing only. Guess what that is? Efficiency. They can only compete on efficiency. So as markets consolidate, they always consolidate to the best funded companies that operate the most efficiently. So when that happens, you're going to see no need for a Salesforce. It's just not going to be the CTO, the CFOs. They're going to come to the CFO and say, where can we cut money? And he's going to always point to a Salesforce. And then why don't we cut that? And if there are tools out there that are like Gong that cost 10 cents on the dollar, or Pipefy, there's a bunch of solutions out there now. People are going to go to these smaller solutions that do the things that really matter about Salesforce without having to get tied into their ecosystem. But the decoupling is going to be expensive. Just moving people. If you want to make a lot of money right now, move people from Salesforce to cheaper solutions. Just the uncoupling, it's so painful. They've made it incredibly painful, big business, but dump that. All the BPO companies, all of them, give them up. They're going to hell in a handbasket. They got nowhere else to go. This is the one I knew was going to be controversial. Alphabet Google. I'm short Alphabet Google. And people are like, yeah, but I think Gemini is going to win the AI war. I think you might be right. It actually might. But it's going to take it years to replace billions of dollars in lost search. AEO is top of mind for everybody. Everybody's going to the answer engines to get their recommendations. I think that Google search still accounts for something like 75% of Google's income. So even if they win AI, I think Google's going to be around a long time. I think they'll be a good company. I think they're just going to be a smaller company. I really do. And if they win agentic AI, so what? $20 AI accounts don't matter for much. And they're not winning on API. OpenAI is winning that still. So it's going to be interesting to see how it forms out. But I'm betting against Google, at least in the short term. Regional banks, NYCB, all of them, short the shit out of regional banks. They're on a death spiral, in my opinion. All of them, 100%. And look at the ones with the smallest balance sheets right now. They're dead as fried chicken. Because as these defaults come in on commercial real estate, they're not going to be able to handle the pressure, and they're not going to get bailed out. It's going to be another, we learned in 2008 how they deal with that. They just pull in all the big guys and they say, who's going to suck this bank up? Who's going to buy them? And now you have Apollo out there going, oh, I will. I'll take them. And they're going to buy the shit debt to buy them. Chegg's they're a big training company that tutors students. AI tutors are on the massive rise right now. Putting a human tutor with a student, and that's your business model. They're a huge company. I think they're dead as fried chicken. You know what I didn't put in here? Stellantis, Chrysler, the people who make Chrysler cars. I don't have them in the list. I'm short them too. Zoom. I think Zoom's going to go down as cheaper tools come on. Right? People have gotten used to Zoom. Let's get on a Zoom. Let's get on a Zoom. Let's get on a Zoom. But you also have more people going back into office to work in a hybrid schedule. So work now is becoming more about like having a meeting place once or twice a week where you're going to go meet, and then you're going to work from home 2 or 3 days a week. So the face-to-face communication oftentimes is going to be done in those local meetings, and Zoom's going to fill in. So I think it's going to be less and less and less. And I think they're just overvalued, to be frank. I don't think their business model is declining, but I think more than anything else, they're overvalued. Trade Desk is programmatic ed tech, probably going to go to hell because display ad budgets are dropping by 30%. Just people are buying less advertising. It's all moving to influencer advertising. So paid advertising has already dropped. Spending has already dropped this year by 30%. It's probably going to drop another 20% next year. So I just don't see that being a good model. And all the mid-tier retailers, they're sucking wind, right? You either need to be on the high end or you need to be on the bottom. You need to be Walmart or you need to be Nordstrom's. The in-between's getting screwed. They're getting killed in tariffs. The quality of the merchandise is bad. They're going to get killed on these environmental carbon footprint stuff because there's so much waste. They're getting killed on disposal. It's hard to pay people. If you've been in a Kohl's lately, you can roll a bowling ball through it on a Tuesday afternoon. You're not going to hit anybody. So these guys are in big trouble. And lastly, let's all say a cheer for the death of Adobe. I think the probability they're dead, man. I think Adobe's dead. I think Canva won, AI won, Nano Banana. Adobe stock got shorted like 20% the day Nano Banana came out. So those are some losers. So as far as the overall rankings by probability, these are industry-wise. AI infrastructure, winner, winner. GLP-1 drugs, winner, winner. Enterprise cybersecurity is a winner. Private credit, a winner. These are all the winning industries, right? These are the winning industries by industry. And here are the losers. Traditional real estate, horizontal SaaS, business process outsourcing, traditional search and display advertising, traditional higher education. That, by the way, I didn't talk about that a lot. Micro credentials, they're calling it. You know, getting an 8-week certificate in something and then going to work. And get an 8-week certificate in something, go to work and know how to use AI tools, way better than a 4-year degree at anything. Regional banking, middle management services, generic or horizontal AI startups, 30 to 40% won't survive the year. Traditional retail, other than the very high end and the very low end, I think you're going to see Walmart become another $1 trillion company this year. I think there's going to be 4 or 5 new $1 trillion minted companies this year, and we'll talk about those in a second. Macro wildcards, things that could change everything I've talked about. You know, a giant recession, geopolitical war. The bubble pop is larger than I thought, but I don't think so. And there could be big regulatory surprises. If there's a sea change in politics, but there won't be. The thing is, if the best thing that can happen possibly for the country politically is a Democratic takeover of the House, because then everything just stops. Nothing will happen. There'll be a bunch of, they'll investigate this and investigate that, and everybody will watch it on TV, but there'll be no legislation that goes through. So in the interim, the technology companies have another 2.5 years of Wild Wild West. They can do anything they want. And that's exactly what they want. So that's probably exactly what's going to happen. So there are some contrarian things that could happen. And I'll give you the bear case and the bull case on some of these, and then I'll tell you what I think is true. Some people are thinking Bitcoin can go to $250,000. Some people think there's going to be a $60,000 crash. I think that Bitcoin, I'm going to call the market here. We'll see how well I do. So write her down. I think Bitcoin will go down to right at $70,000. And that's when I would buy. And I think it will end the year at over 150,000. But I think sometime during the year, it's going to go down to, I said 67,000 was my ceiling, and I keep raising it up a little bit, but I think it's going to be somewhere in that neighborhood. So we'll see next year when we watch these if I was an idiot or not. Gold, they say gold may become obsolete. I don't believe so. I think gold's going to go up in value. I say somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000, because guess who's buying all the gold they can get right now? China, because China's trying to shore up their currency. So they need it. I think that you're going to see huge silver prices. I think silver is going to go over $100 an ounce. It's about $53 an ounce right now. I think it's probably going up to 80 to 90 to $100 just because of how much silver is needed in computer manufacturing for all these data centers. It's going to be big. The small caps will outperform by 20%. I believe that. I don't think the Mag 7 are going to collapse. I think they're going to kind of hold. I think the Big 7 might have a year where they grow 10% or 15%, which would be like death for them. But I think you're going to see the rest of the S&P come up by 20. So I think you're going to end up with about a 17% growth year in 2026. I think 5% mortgages return to the real estate business. They gotta. Otherwise you can't get that motor running. I don't think there's any way there's going to be a crash like there was in 2008 in residential housing. There's some overpriced residential housing and people will just stay put. Most of those people the difference is most of those people have money in the bank now. Back in 2008, nobody had any money in the bank. People are better secure with more savings. They're just terrified to spend it right now. I think the US dollar, I don't know if it rebounds. I think it remains fairly strong. I don't think it's going to go back to its, last 2 or 3 year highs. But where else are you going to put your money? Who else do you believe in? There's nobody else to really believe in except for China, and you can't believe anything China says. So it's really weird. Bull case, crypto gets wiped off by some big cyber attack. I don't know. I own a privacy coin surge 100%. Guess what? I'll tell you a story about privacy coins. I bought into a fund with Kamal, and one of the investments we made was this company called Zcash. And at the time we did it, I think I got a couple hundred Zcash coins. So they raised money and they bought us out of our position. I got a couple hundred Zcash coins. And at the time they were pretty valuable. I don't remember how much. And I just forgot about them. And they're sitting in a crypto wallet somewhere. And the other day I looked and Zcash was at $699 a coin. And I got a couple hundred of them I didn't know I had. I knew I had them, but I didn't know how much the value was. They went all the way down to like $11. But Zcash is the leading privacy coin. So it's giving people the ability to move money privately. If that doesn't get too regulated by nations, and I don't think it's gonna right now, it's my guess those Zcash coins are gonna be worth a couple $1,000s a coin in another 12 months. So, I'll have $500,000 worth of Zcash, which is kind of cool. Let me see what else. Cryptocurrencies. Yeah, I ran through those. I've kind of ran through that. Ran through gold, where I think that's going to be. I think we're going to be somewhere in the $5,000 to $6,000 range. I really do. Or the high fours for sure. I think silver be at 100 an ounce. I think no need for silver or gold. I think that's horse shit. 5% mortgage returns. I absolutely believe that's going to happen because it's manipulatable. I think when Trump puts somebody else in the Fed, he's going to put them in the Fed purely based on the fact that they're going to reduce real estate. I really do. I think Florida's got big problems in real estate. That's a whole different animal. Let me see what else is here. Yeah, I think we covered most all that. I think the bond market's going to lose its card as being the hedge against stocks. It kind of lost it already. When the market went to shit 2020, bonds did not support it. I think bonds are becoming a really weird instrument. And I think you're going to see more and more companies that are going from the old mix was like 70-30 equities to bonds or whatever, 60-40 equities to bonds, and then maybe 10% in gold. And that was the old mix. I think you're going to see more now 60 or 70% equities and maybe 20% in cryptocurrency and maybe another 10% in gold and maybe a little bit in bonds. But I think the bond market's really, really slipping. So those are the financial predictions. If here's by the way, again, back to Driven. I'll take some questions if I have any time to take questions, Emma. I think we might need to push off my 1:30 interview because I think I had a 1:30 interview set.
No stress. You take all the time you need. I got it on the back end.
Okay. So if we got questions, I'm happy to take questions from anybody right now. I just want to remind everybody, I'm not a soothsayer, right? I don't know that these will come true. I have in the past had a really good success level at making predictions that happen to come true. And I've been able to read the tea leaves a little better than most people because it's necessary for me. It's necessary for me to read those tea leaves to perform in what I do and to advise the companies. So my business, just so you guys will know, my business is, I've got these masterminds and things, but that's kind of a byproduct of what I actually do. I actually invest in businesses. I find partners and I spin up or invest in businesses that are existing to help them grow. And part of my job is making sure that we are on trend with a wind to our back, not a headwind that's pushing us down. That's number one, above all things. That's number one. Number two, making sure that we have found a soft belly in the market to enter the market in with the greatest possible offer, bringing the highest amount of value to people for the least amount of money. And three, then getting us exposure, traffic, so that people see our value proposition in a tailwind market and we rise, hopefully, And I've been able to successfully do that more times than most. I've had, I think, close to 30 companies now cross the $10 million threshold. I think maybe in the 20s. I've had 6 cross 20 million, 3 cross 30 million. And in aggregate, I haven't done billions of dollars. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your ass and tell you I'm running a $200 million a year portfolio and I've sold billions of dollars in my portfolio of bullshit. I'm not going to do that shit. But I can show the receipts on everything that I have done. Got in trouble for doing some of it, almost went to jail. Those receipts are public. When I was in the supplement business, I got in the supplement business, didn't know what I was doing, almost went to freaking jail, right? But almost went to jail doing $36 million a year. So there's governmental proof that I've made a lot of money. I've been super squeaky clean since then. I take no chances. I run the most clean businesses I possibly can, and I help people to grow businesses. And that's what Kasim does. That's what I do. That's what our partners do. Jason, everybody at Driven, that's our goal, is to get your business with the greatest tailwind behind it, get it, have the greatest offer possible in the market, deliver more value than anybody else for the money, most efficiently using AI and new technology tools, and get you the highest valuations possible should you decide to exit, or the highest profit should you decide to hold. That's what we do. I need to, I'm glad this is recorded because that's the best explanation of Driven I've ever given. And being in the room with a bunch of other people who are driven. That's one of the things with Driven, man. There's energy in the room that pushes you forward, where it's real easy to sit at home on your ass and get cold. You can't, Ed Milet said in a talk I heard him say, and I've stole it. I'm going to credit him for it one more time. And then after that, it's mine, that you can't stay at 70 degrees in a 100-degree room. And a lot of times it is just being around the environment. So hopefully you'll join us at Driven. Has anybody got any questions? I don't see any hands up. If you have a question, you can go to the, how do they do that?
How do they do what? Ask questions?
Yeah.
So what do they want to ask questions about, Perry, specifically? About Driven?
No. Ask questions about anything. If they want
Sure.
to
Support at
Driven,
Perry
that's fine.
Belcher. Support at Perry Belcher.
No. I want to take questions right here. I want to take live
All right,
questions.
then have them raise their hand, Perry.
Okay. I see. So can you tell them how to raise their hand on here? Because I don't know how to.
Sure. If they go,
It's reactions or something, right?
it's actually looks like Kasim may have disabled.
No, there's people raising their hands. So
Yeah.
I'll just start with Elizabeth and we'll figure it out. Y'all will figure
There
out
you
how to
go.
raise your hand. Okay. Elizabeth, what's your question? 3. Elizabeth, you're muted if you're talking. Okay. I guess Elizabeth didn't have a question. She's raised
We
her
can
hand.
move to JoJo.
Wait,
Jojo?
no, hold on, I'm here. We just needed permission to unmute.
Oh, okay.
So-
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can I do for you?
Super quick. Thanks for this. Fantastic.
You're welcome.
I am actually in discussions this week about whether to purchase a digital marketing agency. This has me questioning. I just wonder about your take on digital marketing agencies.
If you can't say nothing good, don't say nothing at all. I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you like to do. If you enjoy it, I think it's largely most people in agencies have bought themselves a job just without a boss and any benefits or security.
Okay.
Does that answer your
This one,
question?
it kind of does. Yeah, this one was, it's a turnkey, fully
Yeah.
operating. But it's more, it would be a bolt-on, and you've kind of got me thinking, maybe I step away from that and go down some different avenues of
if it
what you
gives-
talked about here.
If you can get it cheap enough and you're buying some client relationships that you could take other services into those client relationships, I think you could potentially make something great out of that.
There. Okay, yeah, they're barely touching AI. They have
Yeah.
no funnels, like they have no, but AI, yeah, it's pretty traditional so far.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay,
Thanks, Elizabeth. Jojo?
thank you.
Thank you very much, Perry. Appreciate that.
You're
You made reference to soft skills or communication skills. You were going to speak about that.
Yeah, I just think that so my sons I feel better and better and better about this. So I think a lot of people right now have a question in their mind. They've got kids. I have kids. I still got a 16-year-old in the house and a 24-year-old and 25-year-old. And what the hell in this world do you tell your kids to go get good at? What do you tell them to do with their lives? What should they study? What should they do? What should they what should they become? And I think that the answer to that is whatever it is, help them to grow their confidence level. I think there's no price tag that you can put on it, and you can't really get a degree in confidence. But I think if they can learn to sell, if they can learn to persuade, not to persuade in a bad way, but have people come over to their way of thinking about something. If they can share ideas with people and articulate those in a way that people get it quickly without having to digest a lot of material. If you watch the Scott Galloways of the world or the Jordan Petersons of the world or the Tony Robbins of the world, they're not shocking the world with amazing revelations, right? They're just communicating usually fairly basic principles and data in a way that people understand it. So I think the soft skill of learning to be a good communicator. My friend Kevin Nations right now does Just Sales. He has a thing called Just Sales, and he's getting back in the sales training business. And I'm telling you, he's the greatest in the world at it. And he's going to be at Nashville. He's going to be at the Nashville Driven. And he sent me a thing the other day. I don't want to screw it up. Let me read it to you real quick if I can. He says something along the lines of, hold on, because it's so good. I actually wrote it down and I put it on my desk and I'm going to frame it. He said, sales is the analog hedge against digital replacement inevitability. Everybody should write that down. Kevin Nation said this, not Perry Belcher. Sales is the analog hedge against digital replacement inevitability. Right? AI, he wrote me, I'm reading my text from him. AI ain't going to shake somebody's hand. It ain't going to take them to the titty bar. It's not going to compliment their kids or their accomplishments. It's not going to sit at the bar and drink with them till you're both so sloppy you can't walk back to your room. It'll never be able to replace that. And the conveyance of ideas in an articulate way, I think learning to be a great speaker, communicator, and all around person who has a high EQ is really moving forward going to be more valuable than people with high IQs. Because now IQ is on your phone for $20 a month. Angela? I hope that answered your question, dear, by the way. Jojo?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Perry. Thank you so
Hi.
much. Well,
You're welcome.
This was so mind-opening and kind of where my brain has been going in a lot of areas. When you mentioned trade schools and the data centers, and I live in Michigan,
Yeah.
Stuff's hitting here. But I was also skilled trades for many years. But
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Both are good. Skilled trades training, crazy good right now. We've got a lady in our group that's got that owns a trade school. They just opened a new trade school. They're killing it. That the enrollment's going to be there because people are going to see. There's a funny I don't know. South Park has a way of predicting the future, but they've got a South Park episode where they've got a Mexican guy in a really nice truck driving through the Home Depot parking lot, and standing out there will write contracts for need daily contract writing work. They've got lawyers out there and doctors and
that's so
accountants,
funny.
and the plumber's driving by in his truck going, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, and another question is, what is your take on associations still?
I think they're going to be bigger than ever.
So,
Yeah, because I think people are still going to need to associate. That's the thing. Like you're seeing it already. Weirdly enough, the digital marketing event world. If you noticed last year, I did growth hacking and we did okay at growthhacking.com this year. 10x gone. Traffic and Conversion Summit that I funded, sold it to Blackstone, gone. And Blackstone had all the money in the world. It's gone. The Russell Brunson's stuff, gone. So our events down, our live events and conventions down.
some would say that they're actually up. Like Kane Minkus had, he showed us, and they're actually up. So the percentage is up online.
I own conventions.com.
Okay.
Conventions are up. Conventions were up in 2025, 42.6% year to date.
Okay.
So what's that tell you? Human connectivity. People want to shake hands. People want to walk up and meet somebody belly to belly. People are finding face-to-face communications is an absolute premium. And nothing is more about you. Someday I'll get you on a talk. You get on a talk with me. I'll tell you all about what I think of trade show marketing. I love trade shows. My favorite form of marketing in the whole wide world. I really think that it's I think that's going to grow. I think associations are going to grow. Anywhere where people gather is going to grow.
Okay.
I'm going to give you my slides in just a minute, by the way. People are asking about slides. So, Angela, thanks. Hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Amy?
You've been answering some of it. I just wanted to find out what you thought about sales and sales functions and what was going to happen there. And you've touched on that already.
Yeah, I think I really think you're going to see a lot more. Sales is always going to be around. Something I told my son, one of my sons right now, who I would give him a job in one of my companies. I'd do anything for him that he wanted. He's going door to door, knocking doors, selling security systems right now. And he chose to do that over having much better job offers because he wanted to go out in the trenches and learn to sell for a year. He's committed to it for a year. He's going to go bang 200 doors for a year. And he said, Dad, at the end of a year, I'm going to know how to sell, or I'm going to hate sales so much that I'm never going to sell again. Right. And you know what? He loves it. Kid made $3,000 week before last. Right. He absolutely is drunk on it. He loves it. So I've marked him off my list of kids I got to worry about. I think he's going to be fine. My other daughters are in IT. One of them's the head of analytics for a second head of analytics for Caesars Online Gaming. Her job could be replaced. It certainly could be marginalized, but they allow her to use a lot of AI in the job. So I think she's going to be okay. My other daughter's the webmaster for the U.S. Department of Commerce. She'll probably be okay because it's government, I don't know. And I think that something's always going to have to be sold. And I think that Kevin's right. We buy from people, by and large, we like, right? I can want to buy something, but if the salesperson's a prick, I won't buy it, right? And certain things can be marketed, like an iPhone. You don't have to be sold an iPhone. Marketing sells you an iPhone before you ever go buy the iPhone. But there's still going to be plenty of things that have to be sold. And I think that sales is going to come back into vogue as a more honorable profession, frankly. I really do. And sales to groups, speaking in front of people, I think that some of the highest paid people in the world are going to be public speakers in the coming couple of years.
Perry, let's take 2 more questions. Amy was next, then Carlos.
Okay. I think that was Amy, wasn't it?
Yep, that was me.
Oh, sorry. So Carlos, then Al, last 2.
Okay.
Man, this was so eye-opening. Thank you guys. But thank everybody. Anyway, I work for a company right now that, I took it on because they need closers, or so they think.
Yeah.
But this gave me cause for pause because what they offer is it's a lead gen system, right? It's cold sales, right? Like basically fill up um your Zoom meetings with potential prospects from LinkedIn. And then to tee up the sales, is to foster the
Sure.
relationship. I'm a cold closer, so I'm dealing with people that have no idea about us, and we got to kind of warm it up. I hate it, but I come from a sales background. Is this like a stupid opportunity, or is this something that you think is gonna go by the wayside?
I have no idea what
Or
I have no idea what your people are selling, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I think there are plenty of, if you can sell something and I don't like the idea of being a closer.
yeah, me neither.
The idea of being a salesperson, a consultative salesperson, being a closer, are 2 very different things. You know, you got to close in sales, you got to close, right? But I think
Right.
that I would prefer to work somewhere. If I knew how to sell and you were good at it, I'd prefer to work somewhere uh, where I could spend time with people and get to know them a little bit, and work for a company that has a good reputation of delivering a lot of value. And that would be the biggest
Right.
thing. Does the company have a good reputation of delivering a lot of value to its clients, or most of its? Here's the big thing I say now. One of the reasons I got so far away from marketing, and I hate marketing so much now, is largely because marketing was called an industry. And I don't think marketing is
Mm,
an industry. I think marketing is a function of industry. But I think
mm,
that one of the big things is this is the test. Are most of their customers, or whatever your customers if you're in business, 1 year from today, are most of the customers that bought something from you going to be happy that they bought it? And if the answer is no, you are in an unsustainable business.
mm, right.
Okay.
That leads me to
No matter whether
one
it's
of
their fault or not. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's the fact that, well, I taught them how to do it and they didn't do nothing, so it ain't my fault. Bullshit.
right,
They're
right.
dissatisfied a year from now, you're in an unsustainable business.
What about
Go
the
ahead.
B2B crowd? The B2B crowd, like a lot of the people that we're marketing to are executive, hula laws, they're coming from the B2B space.
It's too hard, man, for me to judge what you should do, but you know in your heart what you should do. It sounds like you already know.
Thanks, Perry.
Thanks. Al, you're last up.
Good. Under the wire. So I have 2 kids in college.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the last sucker, um, putting kids through college. So I wanted to get your take on what's going to happen with the university system, because I think these numbers that they charge are unsustainable. And then, is a master's degree still worth it going to get with my younger son?
I'll tell you what I would tell my kids, but I would not advise you to do what I say, because I have different opinions on a lot of shit, right? I think if your profession that you're going into requires a sheepskin that requires a degree, be it law, architecture, accounting, where you literally have to have a prerequisite of a degree, then yeah, I think it's okay. I can tell you, I'm in the Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary said, I haven't looked at somebody's the education on their resume in 10 years. It's irrelevant to me. So as far as being in a hiring capacity, I don't think it's necessarily going to help them unless they're in one of those professions where, there is truly like a licensure requirement that you have to do this so many years. And I think if they go to college for 4 years and get their master's degree, the guy that started plumbing 2 years ago is probably going to make a lot more money than them. Unless they just have a passion for something. I think the only good in college left is that it lets them leave with a sense of completing something, but also with a big bunch of debt on their back unless daddy's paying the whole bill. So there's certain trade-offs to it. If you ever play that game Life, you ever play that game?
Long time ago.
It's a great game because in life, you can choose to go to college or you can choose to go into business. Those are your 2 choices in life in playing that game. And it's funny who wins. Usually the people who choose to go into business they have they have ups and downs in the game, but they typically win at the end of the game. They're almost always the winner. The safe bettors that went to college and got a job and all that, they won a station in mediocrity. They ended up, having a mediocre life. And it was a safe mediocre life. They didn't starve to death, but they didn't really flourish.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perry, thank you
Appreciate it.
so very much. This was incredible. Do you want to let them get the slides so they can start
Yeah.
freaking out?
If they scan that little thing right
Can
there.
you come up just a little bit more, please?
Yeah.
You
hold
only
on.
have the tip again, sir. Just a
can't-
little tiny.
I can't. It won't let me. Hold on. Did that help?
No, it did not. Saka, could you please drop the link for everyone? Maybe make your page smaller, Perry.
Let me see if I can.
Hit command minus.
Hold on. How about that?
I don't know if that's enough. Let me see. Oh, there we go. We got it.
Okay. And you get the slides there, and my phone number's on there. That is actually my cell phone number. If you're a pain in the ass, I'm just going to ignore you. If you really need something, and think you might have an opportunity that I'd be interested in investing in or working with you in or whatever, if I don't put any money in anything experimental. If you have a business that's growing like a weed right now and you need capital and wisdom and connections to grow it, I'm happy to do that. I got my own shit to experiment on. I'll figure out ways to lose money all by myself. I don't need any help with that. So, but hopefully that's good for you, and we'll chat it up. Thank you so much for being here, Emma. Thank you, Kasim. Thank you for our staff that's here, and I hope you enjoy this. And I'll see you on next year's.
For Perry, can you let Driven members know that they don't have to fill out the form? All notes and all slides will be in the Driven Slack channel. You guys get a little bit extra in the Slack channel. So check out the general channel. It'll be there in just a moment. Saka will post it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Take care, y'all. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Perry.
Thank you.
It was awesome. Holy cow.
Take care, Perry. You're the best.
Thank you. Take care. See you guys later.
Yeah, happy
Bye-bye.
holidays, Perry.
Thanks,
and
Perry.
Sue.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Love you. We love
Christmas.
you.
Happy New
Thank
Year.
you. Thank you.
Big hug, love.
Look at all that love, man. That feels good. That feels
Hey.
really
We
nice.
gotta give you some love, man. You're awesome.
All right. Look at that. How nice you guys
Merry
are.
Christmas.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I
That was
appreciate
awesome.
you so much. That feels good. That feels really good. Hopefully I did an okay job. Thank you all so much.